When they got back to school, the two of them headed to their own classrooms. A few minutes before class, English teacher Zhao Yu walked in early, carrying a stack of test papers. Class presidents, come up and hand these out. Huan, step outside with me for a minute. She picked up the top paper and walked out. Huan caught the look on her face and felt a sudden pang of anxiety. Was she about to call him out for deliberately holding back on last night's test, or was she still mad that he hadn't paid attention in English class all week? He followed her into the hallway, and she cut straight to the chase. Huan, do you have some kind of problem with me personally? Huan was baffled. Teacher Zhao, why would I have a problem with you? I think there might be a misunderstanding here. Then what's the deal with this test paper? Huan took the paper from her hand. The score was 102. He usually got around 80 on English tests, so 102 seemed pretty normal. Confused, he asked, Teacher Zhao, do you think my score is too high? No, I think it's too low. Huh. Zhao Yu stepped closer and pointed to a multiple-choice question. This question and the close passage later both test the exact same grammar point. You got the close right, but you got this one wrong? Huan silently cursed his carelessness and quickly apologized. Sorry, Teacher Zhao, I was too careless. I didn't notice. You weren't careless, you did it on purpose. There are clear erasure marks. You deliberately switched the correct answer to a wrong one. And it's not just this question. Every single one you got wrong is like that. Do you think I'm that easy to fool? She stared straight at him, as if searching his face for clues. Huan was filled with regret. He'd really tied himself up with his own rope this time. If he'd just answered normally last night, none of this would be happening. Teacher Zhao, I usually score in the 70s or 80s. Getting over 100 is already way above my average. You don't actually think someone like me could get 120 on English, do you? Zhao Yu ground her teeth in frustration. He was lying right to her face. She'd watched him work through the questions last night, fast, accurate. He was definitely not bad at English. As for why his English had improved so quickly, she couldn't figure it out. Maybe he'd genuinely put in the hard work over the summer break. She paused, then said, all the other subject teachers keep telling me how much you've changed. Every time I stand with them, I can't even open my mouth. Do you know why? Huan caught the resentment in her tone and groaned inwardly. He decided to keep playing dumb. No, I don't. You never pay attention in my class, and on top of that, you do homework for other subjects. What do you think, English isn't important? Or do you think your English is so good it doesn't matter whether you study or not? Huan hung his head and didn't dare to argue. If your English actually were that good, then fine, you'd have the right to review other subjects in my class, but you're barely above 100. That's clearly not enough. Huan was a little confused. Teacher Zhao, are you saying that if my English score is high enough, I can do whatever I want in your class? Zhao Yu hummed in confirmation. I heard from Teacher Guo that you made a bet with her that if you get into the top 20 of the class on the final exam, she'll give you 500 yuan cash. Is that true? Yeah. Then let's make a bet too that if you score above 130 on every monthly English exam, you can do whatever you want in my class, and I won't say a word. But if you fail to hit 130 even once, then you sit up straight, listen, take notes, and never look at another subject's book again. Huan's heart leaped. This was actually a great deal. He dropped the act and said confidently, Deal, Teacher Zhao. If I don't get 130, you can punish me however you want. Huan was holding her test paper, feeling pretty sour. She'd only scored 108 on this little quiz, the lowest among the people around her. When she saw Huan walk back in with his paper, she immediately grinned. Hey, Huan, what did you get? Tell me, make me feel better. Before Huan could answer, Fenggan jumped in. What? You trying to match Huan's score and slide all the way down to some third-rate private college? Huan glared at him wide-eyed. I was talking to Huan. What business is it of yours? Who asked you to butt in? And you think it's polite to just ask people their scores out of nowhere? Huan felt a warm glow in his chest. Gan might be loud and unreliable most of the time, but when it counted, he had his back still. Huan had thick skin and maxed out defenses. A little score comparison wasn't going to hurt him. I did okay, just a little over 100. Huan clearly didn't believe him. If you got over 100, I'll do a handstand. And she stopped mid-sentence when Huan laid his test paper flat on the desk in front of her. The bright red score read 102. Gan, afraid she might miss it, grabbed the paper and held it right in her face. You were gonna say handstand and what? Spit it out. Huan's face turned red. She tried to weasel out, that doesn't count. He must have cheated. Li Lan, who enjoyed seeing Huan get knocked down a peg, smiled and said, he didn't copy off me, see for yourself. Li Lan put her paper in front of Huan. Huan only had to glance at the first few multiple choice questions to know Li Lan was telling the truth. The questions Li Lan got wrong, Huan had gotten right. And the ones Huan missed, Li Lan had answered correctly. Huan pushed both papers away and said stubbornly, I didn't say anything just now, you must have misheard. Gan was furious. Huan, have some shame, you dare to say it but won't own up. Are you crazy? What did I say? English teacher Zhao, you walked in at the perfect moment to cut off their bickering. Everyone take out your papers. We're going to go through the questions, starting with the multiple choice. Huan was about to pull out his physics book when he heard Zhao Yu call his name. Huan, tell me, why did you choose A for question 3? Huan's face darkened as he stood up. Teacher Zhao, I chose B. Why did you choose B instead of A? Are you kidding me? How am I supposed to answer that? A million thoughts raced through Huan's head. He had a feeling his English classes were never going to be easy again. After school that afternoon, Chen saw Huan looking downcast and asked curiously, Bro, what's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong. Then why do you have that sour look on your face? Huan didn't want to admit he'd been targeted by the English teacher all afternoon, so he brushed it off. Just didn't do well on the test. Kinda depressing. Oh, since when do you care about studying? Obviously. I'm a senior this year. Of course I care. Yeah, right. Your thing is making money, mine is studying. Perfect match, you earn the cash so I can go to school. What do you know, kid? The future is internet tech, AI, high-end stuff. If you don't study, how are you gonna make any real money? Chen blinked, a little lost. Internet she could sort of understand, but artificial intelligence, what was that? When they got home, the guests had already left. Only Liu Mai remained, spreading fresh sheets across the bed. Chen walked in, ran her hand over the new bedding, and asked, Mom, did you buy these sheets and pillowcases this afternoon? Yeah, your third aunt went with me to pick them out. 6 sets, cost over 4,000 yuan. Autumn's coming, so I'll need to get a few new quilts made too. It was hard to picture his usually frugal mother dropping over 4,000 on bedding without a second thought. Huan grinned. Mom, you're really splurging now. 4,000 on bedding, just like that, without batting an eye. Liu Mai shot him a glare. Don't you get smart with me. If you hadn't bought that 10,000 yuan bed, would I be shelling out for bedding like this? Huan played innocent. Mom, I was just complimenting you on spending wisely. Bull. Huan, I'm warning you, don't get cocky just because you've got a little money. If a person doesn't save and live frugally, even a mountain of gold will get squandered. Huan thought to himself, with her idea of saving, He could have this 100 million and she still wouldn't burn through it in 1,000 years. He noticed the kitchen was dead quiet. Curious, he asked, "Mom, you didn't cook?" "Of course not. When would I have had time? First I had to buy a bunch of daily necessities, then the bedding sets, and on top of that, your uncles came by to drop off money." "Oh, right." Liu Mai set down what she was working on, walked into the living room, and pulled out several stacks of cash along with a piece of paper. "This is from your uncles and your eldest uncle. I jotted all the amounts down right here." Huan scanned the list. The smallest contribution was 10,000, the largest 70,000. His third uncle-in-law had given 50,000, the total came to 240,000. "Mom, did you have them sign IOU slips?" "IOU slips? Why would I do that? Isn't it good enough that I wrote it all on this paper? It'd be better to have them signed by both parties. That way, the terms are clear, and no one can dispute it later." Liu Mai looked a little embarrassed and lowered her voice. "They're all family. It should be fine, right? People are never satisfied, their greed knows no bounds. A lot of things are hard to predict, but if you didn't write any IOUs, it's fine, not a big deal." Huan pulled out his phone, snapped a picture of the paper, and handed it back. "Mom, you hold on to this. I'll deposit the cash now and move it to the stock market later." Liu Mai didn't understand any of that. She just warned him, "Those people trusted you enough to give you all this money. Don't you dare lose a cent of it." Huan couldn't help but laugh. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Come on, Mom, let's go put the money in the bank. We'll grab a quick bite outside." Liu Mai had just slipped on her shoes when she suddenly remembered something. She looked up at He Chen, where's the property deed? Why are you so clueless? Do I have to ask you for it before you hand it over? He Chen pouted, went to her room, and came back with a red booklet. Liu Mai took it eagerly, opened it at once, and saw that the owner's name was indeed He Chen. Her voice turned a little envious. "You're so lucky, girl. Only 16 and you already own such a nice big house. I'm 40 and I still don't have a thing in my name." Huan felt like that was aimed at him. He immediately puffed out his chest and declared, "Mom, it won't be long before I buy you a big villa. The deed's gonna have your name and no one else's. Why would I want so many houses? All I'm asking is, can we talk to the people at the property registry and change the name on this one to mine?" He Chen froze when she heard that. Liu Mai carried the deed back to her room. She placed it in the nightstand drawer at first, then decided that wasn't safe, a thief might steal it. After thinking it over, she tucked it deep into the back of the wardrobe, buried under piles of thick clothes. All three of them headed downstairs. Huan told Liu Mai and He Chen to order food first while he went to the bank to deposit the cash, but Liu Mai insisted on going with him. Huan couldn't say no, so he had to take her along. A bank branch sat right outside the residential complex. He walked into the ATM booth, and Liu Mai followed right behind him. "Seriously, Mom, why are you coming in here? I want to see how much money you have in your account." Huan was caught between laughter and tears. "Mom, you don't actually think I'd lie to you, do you? I'm just taking a look. I'm not asking for your money." Huan had 95 million in the stock market, with only about 5 million left in his bank card. Even 5 million was an astronomical sum to Liu Mai. He couldn't shut her out, but his mind was racing, trying to figure out how to explain where 5 million came from. Liu Mai urged, "Where's your card? Hurry up." Left with no choice, Huan inserted the card as he pressed the balance button. He said, "Mom, actually, when I won the lottery, the prize was..." He got halfway through when Liu Mai exclaimed excitedly, "So you really do have over 570,000 in your account?" Huan flinched and quickly glanced at the screen. "No way, it says 5.78 million right here. How did she misread that? A wave of relief washed over him, and he pivoted. See, I told you, I'd never lie to you. With that, he swiftly closed the balance screen, terrified she might notice something off. What were you saying just now, about the lottery? Nothing. Let's deposit the money first. Qianqian's waiting for us to eat. A few minutes later, mother and son walked out of the neighborhood entrance and happened to spot Li Lan coming from inside. They both turned away in perfect unison, as if they hadn't seen her, but Liu Mai grabbed Huan's arm and pointed at Li Lan. Isn't that the classmate who lives across from us? She's also my desk mate. Huan could no longer avoid it. He nodded at Li Lan and said, hello. Hello was about as perfunctory a greeting as you could give. Even a simple have you eaten would have sounded friendlier. Li Lan was too worn out to complain. She nodded back hello. Just as they were about to go their separate ways after that awkward exchange, Liu Mai smiled warmly. You're such a pretty girl. Have you eaten? I'll just grab some bread later. No way. Bread has no nutrition. We were just about to order at the restaurant up ahead. Why don't you come eat with us? Li Lan had just stormed out of her dad's place, angry and hungry, but that didn't mean she wanted to sit down with Huan's family. Especially since Huan never spoke to her. How awkward would that be? No need, Auntie. I'm not that hungry. How could you not be hungry? You kids are still growing and using your brains. You need proper nutrition. Come on, join us. It's just one more pair of chopsticks. Li Lan was about to refuse again when she heard Huan say, Mom, if she doesn't want to, don't force her. That rubbed her the wrong way. It was one thing for her to decide not to go, but for him to say she shouldn't, those were two completely different things. She changed her mind on the spot. Thank you, Auntie. Li Lan caught the confused look on Huan's face and felt a surge of satisfaction. You don't want me to go? Too bad. I'll do the exact opposite. Your discomfort makes me happy. The three of them walked to a restaurant just ahead. Qian was surprised to see Li Lan. Why would her brother bring a female classmate along? Liu Mai smiled and gestured to a seat. Li Lan, what do you like to eat? Li Lan had felt bold and confident when she agreed to come, but sitting here with Huan's family, she already regretted it. This was a family dinner. What was she, an outsider, doing here? When Liu Mai asked, she quickly replied, Auntie, don't go to any trouble. Anything's fine. That's not so easy, Liu Mai said, opening the menu. Qianqian, which dishes did you already order? A beef dish, 1000-layer tofu, stir-fried pepper and pork, and crucian carp soup. Then let's add spicy chicken wings and beer duck. Huan wanted to remind her that Li Lan didn't like spicy food, but the words died in his throat. He kept cursing himself for being so pathetic. After all these years, I still remember what she likes. Huan, you're really useless. Li Lan hadn't expected Liu Mai to be so generous. Auntie, really? No need for more dishes. There are only a few of us. We won't be able to finish it all. That's fine. We'll pack up the leftovers. Huan chuckled to himself. Mom was being generous today, but maybe too honest. If you're going to take leftovers, at least don't say it in front of her. In the end, Li Lan couldn't refuse Liu Mai, and 2 more dishes were added. Since the restaurant wasn't busy, the food came quickly. During the meal, Liu Mai and her daughter chatted idly with Li Lan about everyday things, while Huan buried himself in his food like a stranger at the table. Seeing that Huan wasn't being sociable, Liu Mai kicked him under the table. Huan looked at her blankly, then heard her say, Li Lan has such good grades, and she's your desk mate. If there's something you don't understand, you should ask her. Huan found her expression odd. Mom was acting really weird today. It almost felt like she was trying to set him up with Li Lan, but he was still a high schooler, for crying out loud. Got it. His reply was dismissive, but Liu Mai couldn't do much about it. she couldn't exactly scold him in front of Li Lan. After dinner, Liu Mai called the waiter over and asked for 2 takeout boxes. Huan made up some excuse to let He Chen go back to school with Li Lan first, while he helped his mother pack the leftovers. "Mom, why did you invite Li Lan to dinner today? That was so awkward." Liu Mai paused what she was doing. Huan, what do you think of this classmate of yours?" "She's okay." "What do you mean okay?" "I think she's great, pretty, good at studying." Huan knew exactly where this was going. His mother was already picking out a wife for him. He cut her off. "Mom, what are you thinking? I'm still a high school student. I'm not telling you to date her now, but you can build a good relationship. Your grades aren't great, so you probably won't get into a good university. Might as well follow in your dad's footsteps and get married early. I can still help you take care of the kids." Hearing Liu Mai's blatant suggestion, Huan was speechless. Was he being rushed into marriage at 18? "Mom, whether I go to college or not, she and I are absolutely impossible. Don't worry about stuff like that." "How do you know it's impossible if you don't try?" "Because I'm not good enough for her." The words slipped out, and as they did, Huan felt strangely lighter. Liu Mai was clearly taken aback. After a moment, she said slowly, "Before, when your grades were bad and we didn't have much, I'd have been insecure too, but now you have $1 million on you. I thought you'd be a lot more confident." "This isn't about confidence. Mom, I have my own plans for school, my career, and marriage right now. I'm going to focus everything on the college entrance exam. I'll get into a good university, and later I'll marry someone even better than Li Lan." Liu Mai laughed. "Keep dreaming. You're into stock trading now. When will you find time to study? Fingers aren't all the same length. I can't expect you to both make money and ace your exams." "Actually, you can." "Huh?" Huan grinned. "Last night's English test, I scored 102. Mom, I'm not bragging. Your son is a genius. Just wait and see." Liu Mai rolled her eyes. "Get your ass back to school." Huan arrived at school to find Li Lan quietly reading at her desk. As soon as he sat down, she called out, "Huan. Yeah. If there are questions you can't solve, you can ask me." Huan was surprised. What was this? Had she had a change of heart? He just said oh and, as usual, started brewing himself some tea. Li Lan's face flushed red with anger. She'd finally mustered the courage to try and smooth things over between them today, and he was still as cold as ever. "What gives him the right to be so proud? If I ever talk to you again, I'm a dog." The more she thought about it, the angrier she got, her small hands clenching into fists. "Li Lan, come out for a second." A familiar call from outside the door instantly doused the flames of her anger. Nervously, she walked out of the classroom and said to Guojing, "Mom, what's up? What did your dad want you for today?" Li Lan hesitated, then said, "He said Aunt Shu is pregnant." A surge of anger rose in Guojing, but she forced it down. After a long moment, she said, "What does he mean by telling you that? Did he want you to pass it on, so I'd file for divorce?" Li Lan lowered her head and whispered, "I don't know." "Fine, I'll divorce him. If he walks away with nothing, I'll step aside for his mistress right now." Li Lan thought her mother's voice sounded a bit loud. She nervously glanced toward the classroom, but luckily nobody was paying attention. "Mom, maybe you should just divorce him. Dad's never coming back. All you're doing by dragging this out is hurting yourself." Guojing knew that all too well. She had originally planned to wait until Li Lan finished the college entrance exams before divorcing Li Jun, but who would have thought he'd openly live with his mistress, and now she was even pregnant. Guojing, like her daughter, was a proud person. She could never tolerate such betrayal from her partner. Lan, if I divorce your dad, will it affect your studies? Mom, don't worry. I'll get into a good university. Whatever decision you make, I'll support you. Guojing noticed Li Lan's eyes were red and knew her daughter was forcing a smile to comfort her. A pang of guilt hit her. She changed the subject. Your dad and I may not get along, but he does care about you. What did he make you for dinner today? I was still upset when I left, so I didn't eat there. Guojing was surprised. Then why didn't you say something earlier? I could have brought you something. I already ate. Did you buy bread? No, right after I left the neighborhood, I ran into Huan and his family. His mom insisted I go eat with them, so I did. Li Lan added, they moved into a new place, right across from my dad's. Guojing frowned slightly. You and Huan still haven't said a word to each other? Know what's going on between you two? It's not like you're fighting. You're acting like an old married couple giving each other the silent treatment. Li Lan's face flushed. Mom, what are you talking about? Guojing smiled. All right, I'll call Huan out and ask him what's up. Huan was enjoying his tea when he heard Guojing call his name from outside. He hurried out. He glanced at the mother and daughter. Teacher Guo, did you need me? I heard you got a perfect score on yesterday's English quiz. Just lucky. Come on, don't be modest. You've been working really hard lately, I've seen it. Keep that momentum and don't slack off. I believe you'll create a miracle on the college entrance exam. Huan smiled to himself. Even Teacher Guo believed he could get into a top university, but his own mother was urging him to date. Unbelievable. Guojing cleared her throat. Huan, do you have a problem with Li Lan? No, then why don't you ever talk to her? I put you two at the same desk so she could help you study and improve faster. I guess I get nervous around pretty girls, so I don't know what to say. You're not nervous at all. You're lying through your teeth. Li Lan almost blurted that out loud. She snorted and turned to look out the window. Good, you don't talk to me. I'm happy with the peace and quiet. Who's afraid of who? Guojing saw how hostile they were toward each other and felt a headache coming on. Maybe she should separate them next time they changed seats. That evening's study session was Guojing's math class. Huan worked on his practice problems at his own pace as usual. When he got stuck, he went straight to the podium to ask Guojing. Every time Huan moved, Li Lan grew a little angrier. But she couldn't say he was doing anything wrong. If she had to criticize anything, it was that he never asked her for help. Of course, if he did ask, she would definitely refuse. That was her revenge. Huan had no idea how conflicted his deskmate was. When the study session ended, he met up with Chen at the school gate and they headed home. Chen was in a great mood, smiling the whole way. Suddenly she said, Bro, do you have a secret crush on your deskmate? Huan bristled. Bullshit, why would I like her? I was just asking. Why are you so defensive? He started, but the more he tried to explain, the worse it got, so he shut up. Then he remembered that Chen had walked to school with Li Lan that evening. Qian, did Li Lan say anything bad about me today? No, she actually defended you. Huan was surprised. Defended me? About what? We were talking about the high school entrance exam and studies, and then your name came up. I said your grades were really good in middle school, but you got addicted to online games in high school and tanked, so you'd probably only make it to a second-tier university. She said you've been working hard lately, and if you kept it up, you might even get into a first-tier school. Huan hadn't expected Li Lan to speak up for him. But so what if her grades were good? In his past life, they ended up at the same university, and she still humiliated him. Bro, why are you quiet? What do you want me to say? I have zero interest in any damn romance right now. I only care about two things, studying and making money. And you, Chen, no dating in high school, or you know the consequences. Chen curled her lip. Is stricter than mom. When the siblings got home, they saw Liu Mai rushing out of the bathroom with a panicked look. Huan, come take a look, is the water heater broken? There's no hot water. That can't be. I tested it earlier, Chen said, charging into the bathroom. She turned on the shower's hot water tap, cold water came out. She went back to the kitchen and fiddled with the water heater for a moment. Then she found the problem. She opened the cabinet underneath and twisted the gas cylinder valve. Mom, you didn't open the gas. No wonder there's no hot water. Liu Mai's expression turned sheepish. So this thing runs on gas? I thought we had 2 gas canisters for the stove. If it doesn't burn gas, how would the water get hot? That kind of rhetorical question always carried a hint of impatience. Sure enough, Liu Mai's face stiffened, as if her daughter had made her feel like some country bumpkin. Huan coughed. Chanxian, Mom's never used a water heater before, so of course she doesn't know. Speak more patiently, don't be rude. I wasn't rude. The moment the words left her mouth, Huan shot her a glare, and she quickly shut up. He turned to Liu Mai. Mom, whenever you use the water heater, just open the gas valve first, turn it off after you're done. Gas is dangerous, so be careful. Alright, you said it once and I got it. You think I don't know how to use a gas cylinder? Which one of you is showering first? I already put out new towels. Me first. Chen couldn't wait to lie down on her new bed. Huan led Liu Mai to the living room and showed her how to turn on the TV. This was before internet TV became popular, so there were no messy streaming apps. Turn it on and you get channels over 100, actually. Then he showed her the air conditioner and washing machine. They were simple, and Liu Mai picked it up quickly. Soon Chen finished her shower and went to her room. Huan had just stepped into the shower when he heard Liu Mai raise her voice. He didn't need to guess. Chen had done something to upset their mom again. He hurried through his shower, threw on a pair of shorts, and walked out. Mom, what happened with Chanxian? That girl is so disobedient, it's not even hot anymore, but she still wants the air conditioner on. What a waste of electricity. Huan was speechless. Mom, it's still pretty hot out. It must be around 30 degrees. Running the AC is no big deal. Hearing that, Chen perked up. I barely step out and I'm already drenched in sweat. How am I supposed to handle that without AC? How did people manage before air conditioners existed? But we have one now. We spent thousands on it. Are we supposed to let it just sit there as decoration? If you turn it on in your room and your brother turns it on in his, that's a lot of electricity in one night. No. At most one unit can be on. You can sleep on the floor in your brother's room. Chen didn't want that. She hadn't even tried out her pretty pink bed yet. I'm not doing that. Why doesn't he come sleep on the floor in my room? You little brat. Your brother bought this whole apartment. Be grateful you even have AC. Chen's mouth drooped into a pitiful pout. Huan sighed. Alright, Mom, how much electricity can a night cost? Let's turn on the AC in all 3 bedrooms. I'll pay the bill. Chen cheered. Long live my brother. Mom, he said it's fine, so can I turn it on now? He bought this house, after all. Liu Mai glared at the two of them and grumbled, get a little money and you get cocky. What are you going to do when you end up broke? My brother's a millionaire now. It's not that easy to go broke. Liu Mai felt her maternal authority was being seriously undermined. She turned on Huan. You're the one who spoils her. Huan sighed inwardly. One was his mother, the other his sister. He was stuck in the middle. After Liu Mai left the room, Huan said to Chen, don't set the temperature too low. You'll catch a cold. I know, thanks, bro. That thanks made Huan's heart feel sweeter than honey. His own sister, he would spoil her himself. Back in his room, Huan set up his computer. The internet cable had been pre-installed, so he could go online as soon as it booted up. He opened a stock website and checked his main account. 95 million yuan in less than a week. He'd already made over 3 million in profit. Then he checked his secondary account, which had 300,000. It had gone up a little. He transferred in over 100,000, rounding the balance to exactly 500,000. He took a screenshot and sent it to Liu Mai. A few minutes later, there was a knock on his door. Liu Mai entered in her pajamas. You already put the money into stocks? Yeah, the uncles collectively contributed 240,000, and I put in 260,000. By the end of the year, we'll split the profits according to those shares. That works, but what if they ask how it's doing in the middle? You're at school. You can't be answering them all the time. Simple. Every weekend I'll send you a screenshot of the account balance, and you can forward it to my uncles. That way they'll know the status and won't keep bothering you. Liu Mai nodded, then thought of something else. You still have a few 100,000 left. Aren't you going to keep investing in stocks? It's better not to put all your eggs in one basket. I'll keep that money for daily expenses. If another good investment opportunity comes up, I can jump on it immediately. Liu Mai smiled with approval. You're much better than me, and better than your father. I'm a layman when it comes to making money, so I won't meddle. If you need me to do anything, just ask. Actually, Mom, there is something. Liu Mai's eyes lit up. What is it? Don't go back to being the store manager at that clothing shop. Stay home and cook for me and Qian. Bullshit. Liu Mai's voice shot up. Am I your servant? Cooking for you too? Mom, you misunderstand. I just want you to take it easy at home, cook a little, clean a little. I'll give you 5,000 a month for living expenses. That way you won't have to deal with bosses and difficult customers. Liu Mai paused, then shook her head. I'm still young. There's no way I'm not working. You focus on your own business. Don't worry about mine. Huan knew his mother valued her pride. She didn't want to have to ask for money, even from her own son. He'd have to think of another angle. Maybe he could buy her a shop and let her be her own boss. That might work. The next day at noon, Huan walked into Jinfu Tea House. Peng Zhongwo was dozing in his chair when the sound from the doorway snapped him awake. He looked up and saw a young man stepping inside. Boss, brew me a pot of Anji white tea. Or Longjing, either one. Peng Zhongwo remembered this high schooler who only drank green tea way too well. He straightened up in his chair and started boiling water. Why haven't you been around lately? Mr. Tang came by every day for a while, always asking if you'd shown up. Huan hadn't expected his future father-in-law to be thinking about him that much. Had some things going on at home. Couldn't make it. Is Mr. Tang coming today? No idea. He's never regular. Sometimes he shows up in the morning, sometimes not at all. For a businessman like Tang Shengji with no fixed schedule, that was completely normal. Huan walked into a small private room. A moment later, Peng Zhongwo came in with a pot of tea. Boss, how much for this pot? 68, but don't worry about it, little brother. Mr. Tang said all your tea here is on him. Huan frowned. What was his future father-in-law playing at? Had he taken a liking to him again, angling for a son-in-law? Next time Mr. Tang comes, please thank him for me. Peng Zhongwo leaned in close and lowered his voice. Little brother, why is Mr. Tang so good to you? You two got some secret connection. Huan smiled. What kind of connection do you think we have? How would I know? Then I'm even more clueless. I only met him once, right here when I came to buy tea. I don't even know his full name or what he does. He's a big real estate developer, worth at least a few 100 million. You're seriously lucky to know someone like him. Bullshit. In his last life, he was the one who helped that man make the big money. Huan just gave a soft not bothering to explain. He poured himself a cup and said, Boss, Go handle your business. I've got things to do. Peng Jiongwo had run a tea house for years and was sharp about social cues. The moment he heard that, he knew Huan had private matters to deal with. He stepped out of the room and settled into his boss chair through the open door. He watched Huan pull out a phone and start tapping away. It struck him as odd. A high school kid, could he be doing business too? In truth, Huan was just trading stocks. The 95 million he'd put in earlier had all gone through a mobile app, but in the classroom with people coming and going, it was way too inconvenient. So he'd come to the tea house instead on his side account with 500,000. Huan bought the same 3 stocks as his main account, a pharmaceutical company, a tin company, and a shipbuilding company. In his last life, when his own company went public, he'd studied the stock market for a while. He still remembered some of the hot stocks from 2007. After buying the shares, he logged into his main account, his eyes lit up. Over $1 million made again today. $1 million a day. He was practically a small boss raking it in. And his mom was still pinching pennies on the electricity bill for him. Huan was lost in thought when a familiar voice came from outside. He looked through the door and saw Tang Shengji, accompanied by Han Qi and 2 other men. One fat, one thin. The fat one dripped with gold and jewelry, the picture of a nouveau riche. The thin one wore glasses and had a refined look. Tang Shengji spotted Huan in the private room and immediately called out, "Little brother, you finally showed up today." Huan quickly stepped out and explained, "Had some family matters the past few days, so I couldn't." "That's fine. That's fine. Tea drinking's just a pastime. Business comes first." Tang Shengji glanced at the steaming cup behind Huan and smiled. "We're going to discuss a few things. Mind if we borrow your room?" These guys clearly had serious business to talk about. Why did his future father-in-law insist on using his room? Wasn't he worried about someone overhearing something confidential? Before Huan could answer, Han Qi leaned in and quietly said, "Mr. Tang, maybe we should find a more private room?" "What for?" "Since we've invited Boss Nyo and Boss Ma here, we're putting everything on the table. I can't stand people who say one thing to your face and another behind your back." That remark was clearly aimed at the 2 men. The fat one let out a rough chuckle. "Mr. Tang speaks the truth. I, Nyo Ben, do business above board. I take what I'm owed, and if it's not mine, I wouldn't touch it if you handed it to me." The other boss, Ma, wasn't nearly so impassioned. He simply said, "I'll follow Mr. Tang's lead." Huan raised an eyebrow from that short exchange. He could already tell both men wanted a piece of Tang Shengji's work. Nyo spoke with an air of superiority, taking digs at Ma. Clearly confident. Emma swallowed his pride but made his position clear with one simple sentence. "A smart man." Huan glanced at Tang Shengji, who kept his expression perfectly neutral, pretending not to catch any of the subtext. "Good. Since no one has any objections, we'll sit here. Little brother, you don't mind, do you?" "You're too kind, Mr. Tang. It's not like I'm in a position to refuse, and this pot of tea is on you anyway." At that, the 2 bosses exchanged surprised looks and stared at Huan, but no matter how they sized him up, the young man's clothes were plain. Nothing about him screamed rich second-generation air. The group settled around the tea table. Huan took the host seat and began pouring tea for everyone. Once they were seated, Tang Shengji got straight to business. Huan listened for a while and soon pieced together the situation. Tang Shengji and Han Qi had bought a piece of land east of Dazi County and planned to build a residential complex. 15 8-story buildings. Due to funding and scheduling constraints, they could only construct 10 of them in-house. The remaining 5 would have to be contracted out. Nyo Ben and Ma Xianhua had both approached Tang Shengji, each hoping to lock down the exclusive contract for those 5 buildings. Their discussion bounced between price, materials, timeline, payment methods, and a dozen other terms. Tang Shengji was an old sly foxed by bringing Niu and Ma face to face. He intended to make them undercut each other. But Niu was especially aggressive. He dug in on price, acting like he had nothing to worry about. Ma was the complete opposite. Every time Tang Shengji dropped a hint, Ma voluntarily lowered his own conditions. He seemed dead set on winning the deal. Huan checked the time. Class was coming up. He'd lost interest in listening anyway. He stood up and said, "Mr. Tang, take your time. I've got class this afternoon, so I'm heading back." "Sure thing, thanks for the tea today. Come back anytime." "All right." After Huan left, Niu Ben and Ma Xianhua finally realized the young man who'd been pouring their tea was just a high school kid. Ma Xianhua adjusted his glasses and smiled. "Mr. Tang, that young man looked unfamiliar. What's your connection to him?" "No connection at all. This is only the second time I've met him." Tang Shengji took a sip of tea. Seeing Ma's puzzled expression, he added, "Director Han was there the first time too. Ask him if you don't believe me." Han Chi nodded casually. "That kid's just a tea friend Mr. Tang made recently. He happened to be here today. So he was just some ordinary person." Ma Xianhua dropped the thought. He'd been hoping to probe Huan for inside information. Huan walked slowly back to school. He had absolutely zero interest in that afternoon's business negotiations. He'd never liked the real estate industry anyway. Too many tangled relationships. It didn't test a person's skill, only their connections. With the right connections, you could make money with your eyes closed. Besides, all the effort Tang Shengji and the others were pouring into haggling was over a deal worth a few million at most. A project that small even in this life, let alone his last, he wouldn't give it a second thought. After all, right now he was pulling in $1 million a day on the stock market. Huan had just walked into the classroom when Cao Xin slipped up from the back row. With Li Lan's seat still empty, he dropped right into it. "Hey, Huanzi, I need to ask you something." Huan looked at his old friend. "What's up?" Cao Xin checked around them, making sure no one was listening, and lowered his voice. "Lend me 20. School's out tomorrow. You're already out of food money. I screwed up my budget, okay? I've been eating nothing but plain steamed buns since yesterday. If you don't bail me out, I'm not making it through today, let alone tomorrow." Back when Huan used to mess around, he'd run out of cash at the end of the month all the time. He never dared ask his mom, so he'd always hit up Cao Xin and the others for loans. He had just pulled a 100 yuan note from his wallet when Li Lan walked in. She spotted Cao Xin in her seat and her brow furrowed immediately. Cao Xin shot up and shuffled awkwardly to the side. Being one of the bottom-ranked students, he couldn't help feeling small next to a top performer like her. Huan tugged Cao Xin out into the hallway and handed him the bill. Cao Xin stared. "Bro, we're out of here tomorrow. I don't need this much. I don't have anything smaller right now. It's fine. Take it, you don't have to pay me back." "No way, having a rich buddy like you is awesome." He stuffed the cash into his pocket fast. "My own dad doesn't hand out money like this." Huan laughed. "Come on. I don't have a son whose gaming addiction is as bad as yours." Cao Xin's face went awkward for a second, then he let out a sigh. "Huanzi, I seriously admire your willpower. You dropped games just like that. No hesitation. Sometimes I still want to play, but then I think about the college entrance exam, and it just doesn't seem worth it. Win a match of .A, you feel good for a few minutes. Nail the exam? That feels good through all 4 years of college, maybe even decades after. You know which one actually matters." Cao Xin stared at the floor and said nothing. Huan couldn't tell if any of it had landed. This was already the third time he'd tried to talk some sense into him. If the guy still wouldn't listen, Then he'd just have to respect his decision. He got back to his seat and immediately heard Huan call out, Huan, you got extra cash on you? Yeah, you need to borrow some too? Yep, lend me 50. What's with today? Why's everyone coming after me for money? Because you're the only rich guy in this class. You eat like a king every day. Who else are we supposed to ask? Man, talk about entitled. The saying really was true. The one borrowing the money always acted like they were the one doing you a favor. Huan pulled out another 100. Make sure you pay me back. Huan rolled her eyes, then turned to Li Lan. Here, Lan. I got you. Li Lan's face flushed bright red. If you were out of money, why did you have to borrow it from him? So what? You'll pay me back, and I'll pay him back. Li Lan really wanted to shove the money back at Huan, but she remembered she and her mom were both still hungry. She held back quietly. She said to Huan, thanks, that I'll pay you back in a few days. Huan hadn't expected it was actually Li Lan who needed the loan. She shouldn't be short on cash, given her family. Then it hit him, her parents weren't getting along right now. They were probably too wrapped up to look after her properly. Don't worry about it. Just remember to pay me back when you can. You stingy jerk. It's only 100 yuan. You think I'm going to run off with it? Whatever trace of gratitude Li Lan had been feeling vanished completely, replaced by pure irritation. She took the money, ran downstairs to the school shop, and bought 2 packs of bread and 2 bottles of water. Then she went back to Guojing's office. Guojing was surprised to see Li Lan, then noticed the bread and water in her hands. A warmth spread through her chest. Earlier that day, she'd gone to the Civil Affairs Bureau with Li Jun to talk about divorce, but things had gone badly. They had major disagreements on 2 things. Custody of their daughter and dividing up the property. By noon, they hadn't settled a thing. She'd rushed straight back to school, so of course she hadn't eaten. Li Lan set the bread on the desk. Mom, I bought you some bread, you should eat. Did you eat? No. Guojing's face flickered with surprise. Why didn't you buy something for yourself? Li Lan looked down. I ran out of money. Guojing felt a stab of guilt. She pulled Li Lan over to sit beside her. Eat some too, you still have class later. Li Lan picked up a piece of bread and took a bite. It was awful. Tasted like raw bran, rough enough to choke on. Something inside her just cracked, and tears started spilling down her face. Guojing's heart ached. She'd delayed the divorce for so long because she was terrified of hurting her child, but the day had come anyway. She gently wiped the tears from Li Lan's cheeks. It's okay from now on. I'll cook for you on time. I promise. Li Lan nodded and forced the bread down with a gulp of water. Guojing took a piece for herself too. Then, curious, she asked, Lan, if you didn't have any money, how did you buy the bread? Li Lan meant to say Huan lent it to her, but in the end, she said, Huan lent it to me. Huan's grades aren't great, but is actually a decent kid. If he hadn't wasted his first 2 years of high school, he'd probably be a top student by now. Mom, I think it's weird. Huan used to be really poor. Could barely afford to eat. Now suddenly he has all this money. The tea he drinks every day costs something like 100 yuan a pound. That's his own business. Don't pry into it. I'll give you the money later and you pay him back. And don't forget to say thank you. Li Lan thought about Huan's smug attitude and pouted. No way am I saying thank you to that jerk. Li Lan returned to the classroom, set the 100 yuan bill on her desk, and pushed it toward Huan with one finger. Huan glanced at it, pocketed the bill casually, and said flatly, thanks. Li Lan had just worked up the nerve to say thank you, but he beat her to it. Before her brain could catch up, the words you're welcome slipped right out. Huan blinked. He looked at Li Lan, genuinely surprised, but she had already turned away, showing him only the dark curtain of her hair. He figured she was just in another one of her tsunda moods and went back to his book. Li Lan's face was burning. She was absolutely furious at herself. Li Lan, Li Lan, how can you be this shameless? Someone lends you money, and you make him say thank you. The next day, just after noon, Huan stepped into Qianfu Tea House and immediately spotted Tang Shengji and Han Qi. They were sitting in the same small booth as yesterday, chatting, while the owner, Peng Zhongwo, was across from them brewing tea. Mr. Tang, you're early today. Tang Shengji noticed him and smiled. We finished lunch a little while ago. Have you eaten, young friend? I grabbed something at the school cafeteria. Huan sat down on Tang Shengji's right, with Han Qi on his left, one on either side. Peng Zhongwo started to pour Huan a cup of black tea, but Tang Shengji said, Mr. Peng, why don't you brew a pot of green tea instead? No need. I'm not that picky. I can drink other teas. I just don't like them as much. Hearing that, Peng Zhongwo filled a cup for him anyway. Huan tapped the table twice to show his thanks. From the side, Han Qi joked, so, young friend, what exactly are you studying at school? Tea law and nothing else? If only. If it were just tea law, I'd be a shoo-in for a top university. Tang Shengji chuckled. High school really runs you ragged. A little hobby to blow off steam, that's not a bad thing. Han Qi let out a light sigh. I envy those kids. All that's on their plate is school. The rest of us are stuck out here. Running a business is a whole different kind of beast these days. School is simple in one sense, but it sure isn't easy. 12 years of grinding, and it all comes down to a 2-day exam. Millions of candidates, and only a handful get into a good school. It's a brutal bottleneck. Honestly, I'd say it's tougher than running a business. Han Qi clearly disagreed. You're still young, you just know the hardships of a student, but business is the real grind. Capital, technology, connections, after sales. 1 weak link, and you're bleeding money. Everyone has different experiences, and different opinions. Huan didn't feel like getting into a pointless argument, so he smiled and shifted gears. Mr. Han, are those 2 contractors from yesterday still giving you headaches? Just the mention of those 2 set Han Qi on edge, but business was business, and he didn't want to discuss it openly, especially with Tang Shengji sitting right there. Tang Shengji took a sip of tea and turned to Huan. Young friend, just going off human nature, who do you think is more reliable between the 2 of them? Neither one's great. But if I had to choose, I'd say the bigger guy. Niu Ben. Tang Shengji looked surprised. Niu Ben talks big and acts like he's above everyone, seems tough to get along with. Why him? If he's that arrogant, he's gotta have something backing it up, connections or a real track record. And why money's on the track record? Oh, what makes you say that? First off, his whole manner, his whole vibe, that's a construction guy through and through. Second, the way he talked business was way more professional than Ma. It's obvious he's done high-rise projects. That Ma guy, he's in construction too, but I bet he's never touched a high-rise, so he's desperate to land this deal with you and get some real experience under his belt. Han Qi was impressed. In business, you had to be sharp, picking up useful information from every little detail, but this kid was still a high school student, and his insight was already this sharp. That was something else. He studied Huan with real interest. You're pretty much spot on, but I want to hear, why go with Niu Ben over Ma Xianhua? Instead of answering, Huan asked, Mr. Han, what's your read on Ma Xianhua? Han Qi answered without hesitation. He's a little weak on the technical side, but he seems like a decent, honest guy. Huan couldn't help a sharp little laugh, then his expression went serious. He turned to Peng Zhongwo, who was still brewing tea, and said, "Boss, could you step out for a minute? We've got some private matters to discuss." Peng Zhongwo hadn't expected to be asked to leave. He glanced at Tang Shengji, who gave a slight nod, so he got up and left, pulling the door shut behind him. Huan took a sip of tea to wet his throat. "Normally, I don't like talking behind people's backs, but since the door's closed, let's treat this as casual talk. Whether I'm right or wrong, just take it with a grain of salt." Han Chi was quietly amazed. "You'd have to be a real old fox to phrase things that smoothly." Huan went on. "If you ask me, Ma Xianhua is way too calculating, and he's got low principles. I'd steer clear of any money dealings with him." Tang Shengji asked, curious, "What gave you that idea?" "Yesterday, when you were discussing the partnership, Ma kept an extremely low posture. He agreed to almost every condition you raised, Mr. Tang. He practically acted like he was thinking only about your interests, even offering to take a hit just to solve your problems. Isn't that a good thing for us?" Han Chi asked. Huan shook his head. "There's an expression, where you sit determines what you think. He's the contractor. His first instinct should be his own bottom line. It's only human to look out for yourself first, then satisfy the other side. Guys who are all flattery and sweet talk, 90% of the time, they're spineless grifters. Today he'll promise you anything to close the deal. Tomorrow, if something goes sideways, he'll throw you under the bus without a blink. And I'm guessing he got to you through some connection. Guys like that, great at schmoozing, terrible at delivering." Tang Shengji couldn't help but applaud. He turned to Han Chi. "Old Han, what did I tell you? I knew this young man was no ordinary person. His judgment runs circles around yours." Being called out like that in front of someone else stung Han Chi's pride. He dug in his heels. "You can't just sum up a person's character from one conversation. Old Han, don't be so stubborn. I actually had someone look into this Ma character yesterday. He used to do residential housing, partnered with a few people, and every single partnership went sour. His reputation in the industry is rotten. People say he smiles to your face and stabs you in the back. If you don't believe me, go ask around yourself." Han Chi was speechless. He laughed awkwardly to cover his embarrassment. Tang Shengji continued, "Young friend, what's your take on Niu Ben? He's fine in most ways, but he's got way too much of that gangster attitude, always ready to pull a knife or a gun. That's a common flaw with construction guys, but with Mr. Han keeping an eye on things, he should be manageable." Han Chi was completely convinced now. As a local big shot, he did have a crew who handled troublemakers. It was unavoidable. If you wanted to be in real estate these days, you needed connections and muscle. Without both, you'd never get anything done. Tang Shengji chuckled. "You hit the nail on the head, but there's one thing you probably don't know. Niu Ben started out as a street thug. He only turned his life around after he started following a certain big boss. Niu Ben by himself isn't the problem. The guy behind him, that's the real headache. If you're not careful, you're just inviting trouble." Huan really didn't know that inside story. He asked casually, "Who's behind him?" "Ku Zhibang." Huan had heard of Ku Zhibang in his past life. The man made his fortune in mining, piling up hundreds of millions early on, but he had a serious gambling problem. He lost over 200 million somewhere and never really recovered. Later, during the national crackdown on organized crime, he was already broke and washed up, but they still arrested him as a gang leader. After that, no one in Dazi County ever heard his name again. But right now, Ku Zhibang was a major force in Dazi County. Nobody dared to cross him. Huan tapped the tea table lightly, his mind already racing. Tang Shengji went on, "So we're caught between a rock and a hard place, and no matter which one we pick, we're sowing trouble for ourselves. If it weren't for the funding gap, I'd build every one of these properties myself. Huan made up his mind. Mr. Tang, exactly how big is that funding gap? Roughly 5 million. Why, kid, you know a way to fill it. Tang Shengji was joking, but to his surprise, Huan actually answered, I have a friend with some spare cash right now that I can put in a word, should be able to lend you the 5 million. Tang Shengji thought he'd misheard. A high schooler, what kind of connections could he possibly have? Then it hit him that so-called friend was probably Huan himself. Still, how could a kid casually whip out 5 million? Tang Shengji eyed him skeptically. You sure you heard me right? 5 million, not 500. I know that I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. 0.5 million, 2% monthly interest, 1-year term. Any problem with that? Tang Shengji laughed. You've got some guts for a kid your age. If you can actually put up 5 million, I'll hand you 20% equity right now. After we sell the properties, you'll clear at least 5 million in profit. Huan cut in. Just to clarify, it's my friend. Tang Shengji almost rolled his eyes. Friend, I'm almost 40. Kid, you think I can't see through that? He shrugged. Fine, your friend. I only care about the money. Huan turned to Han Chi. Mr. Han, what do you think? Han Chi wasn't thrilled about cutting Huan in. Sharing profits meant less for himself, but Tang Shengji had already agreed, so he couldn't exactly object. What Mr. Tang says goes. If you can put up the 5 million, we'll sign the agreement right now. Send me your company account. I'll have my friend transfer the money today. As for the agreement, I'm not too hung up on the details. Just one thing, any other shareholders besides you two? No, I put in 15 million, Mr. Han put in 5, and with your friend's 5 that makes 25 total. Shares get allocated by investment amount. Your friend and Mr. Han each get 20%. Huan had no objections and agreed. The three of them then talked through the terms of the cooperation agreement. Huan didn't know much about real estate, so he mostly went along with Tang Shengji and Han Chi's opinions. Out of nowhere, Han Chi asked, by the way, kid, now that we're working together, we still don't know your name. Huan. He as in he Shengu, Huan as in joy. Tang Shengji smiled. What joy in life, what regret in death. A great name. I'm guessing you have a sister named he she? I do have a cousin named he ximy. Actual younger sister is he Chen. Nice. A son and a daughter. I only have 2 daughters. Yeah, right, and a bastard son on the side. Huan kept that to himself. Speaking of which, my sister-in-law should be a senior in high school too. He probed, Mr. Tang, the Mid-Autumn Festival is the day after tomorrow. Aren't you going home? Of course I am. Dazi County's only an hour's drive from Jiangcheng. I'll wrap things up at the site tomorrow and head out, spend the reunion festival with my family. A genuine smile spread across Tang Shengji's face. He was clearly itching to get home. Oh, by the way, Huan, my eldest daughter's also a senior this year, same as you. I'll bring her around sometime so you two can meet. You young people should have plenty to talk about. Huan nearly choked on his tea. It went down the wrong pipe, and he coughed hard, struggling to breathe. Mr. Tang, no need to go out of your way. We'll meet when it happens naturally. No way. In his past life, Huan and his sister-in-law had been completely incompatible. They'd butt heads every time they met. He never did figure out why she had it in for him. Was it because she'd been single too long and her hormones were out of whack, or was she just getting so old she'd developed a vendetta against men? Seeing that class was about to start, Huan got up to leave. Han Chi rose quickly. Huan, let me give you a ride. No need. Number 1 high school's just a short walk. You two take your time talking business. Don't mind me. I'm just a bystander here. Han Chi chuckled. If you want, we can find something for you to do. Forget it. I'm a total outsider. I just get in the way. Tang Shengji and Han Qi walked Huan to the tea house entrance. Only after Huan's figure disappeared did Han Qi say, "Mr. Tang, how did you know that kid was something special?" "Can't exactly explain it, just a gut feeling. Turns out he's even more impressive than I thought." Han Qi said nothing, but he agreed completely. A high schooler casually dropping 5 million, speaking and acting with such maturity, who'd believe it if they hadn't seen it? Tang Shengji added, "You know why I didn't just let him lend us the money and instead brought him in as equity? Probably to build a good connection." "Exactly, that kid's no small talent. Build a strong connection today, and he'll take us to greater heights down the road." Han Qi felt a surge of excitement. After a moment, he sighed softly. "If my son were half as good as him, smoke would be rising from my family's ancestral grave." "Your son goes to the same school, doesn't he? Let him spend more time with Huan. It'll do him good." Han Qi nodded, then a thought struck him. "Mr. Tang, when you said you'd introduce your eldest daughter, you weren't thinking of setting them up, were you?" "Nonsense. How could I do such a thing?" Tang Shengji's voice was a little too loud, as if he was covering something up. He turned and strode back into the private room without another word. Han Qi followed, laughing. "What's there to be embarrassed about? If I had a daughter, I'd be thinking the same thing." The next day at noon, Huan had just reached the cafeteria to meet He Qian when his phone buzzed. He pulled it out. "Han Qi." "Hello, Mr. Han. What can I do for you?" A laugh came through the phone. "Huan, no work instructions. I just happened to be eating near your school. If you haven't had lunch yet, come on out and join us." Huan glanced at He Qian across from him. Better not to bring her along. "What a coincidence, Mr. Han. I just started eating in the cafeteria. You guys go ahead. I'll finish up and find you afterward." Han Qi didn't push. They exchanged a few more pleasantries and hung up. He Qian asked curiously, "Bro, who's President Han?" "A friend. He invited me out to eat." "Then why aren't you going? That way I could come along and mooch a nice meal." "Ha, I thought you didn't want to. Next time, when there's a chance, I'll take you out to eat." He Qian squinted and nodded firmly. Compared to their old days of scrimping, life now was way more comfortable. After the siblings finished lunch, He Qian went home for her nap. She went back every afternoon now, because lying in bed was far more comfortable than napping at a desk. Huan first went to a bank and transferred 5 million yuan to Tang Shengji's corporate account. Then he took his time walking to Qianfu Tea House. He went to the same small private room as before, but as soon as he stepped inside, he found a young man about his own age sitting there, playing on his phone. Normally, this was Tang Shengji's private room. No one else should be in here. Huan asked, puzzled, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" The young man shot Huan a sidelong glance and said impatiently, "Who are you? Why do you care?" Huan stepped back out of the room and called out to Peng Zhongwo, "Boss Peng, didn't President Tang and President Han come today?" Peng Zhongwo was sorting tea leaves and replied, "They came, but they just stepped out again." "Then who's that rash kid in the room? Who are you calling a rash kid?" The young man instantly bristled, put down his phone, and shouted at Huan. Peng Zhongwo hurried over to explain. Misunderstanding, that young man came with President Han. Huan then noticed that the young man's features were quite similar to Han Qi's. "You're Han Qi's son?" Han Bin raised an eyebrow and said disdainfully, "Yeah, are you my dad's lackey?" Huan gave a dry laugh and took a seat. Spotting some Anji white tea nearby, he boiled water and started brewing. Han Bin was thrown off by Huan's casual demeanor. That poise and relaxation didn't fit a lackey at all. Who are you really? A friend of my dad's. Huan didn't answer. Instead he asked, you're a student at number 1 high school? Yeah, you too? Which class? Senior year, class 15. Oh, a liberal arts student. Your dad brought you here, didn't he introduce me? Han Bin's heart jumped. Old man said he was taking me to meet some big shot. That it couldn't be this guy, could it? He sized up Huan again. The boy was expertly pouring tea through a fairness cup, not even glancing at him. That calm, unhurried air didn't belong to a high schooler at all. Han Bin didn't know how to answer then, as the awkward silence stretched. Footsteps approached from outside, the door opened, and Tang Shengji and Han Qi walked in together. Han Bin stood up quickly. Hello, Uncle Tang. He sneaked a peek at Huan, who was still quietly brewing tea. Tang Shengji laughed warmly. No need to be polite, young man, have a seat. Brother He, did you just get here too? Yeah, look, the tea is ready right as you two walk in. Timing is everything. Han Qi pulled a document from his briefcase. I just went back to the office to grab the agreement. Brother He, take a look and see if there are any issues. And your 5 million came through, but it shows it was transferred from your personal account. Huan took the document, scanning it as he said, my friend doesn't like to be in the spotlight, so he's investing under my name. Both Han Qi and Tang Shengji knew Huan was inventing a friend, but they didn't call him out on it. After a moment, Huan set down the agreement and said, I have some thoughts on the equity distribution. Han Qi's mood soured slightly. Was 20% not enough for him? Brother He, speak your mind freely. My friend says he won't be much help on this project, so he feels unworthy of taking 20% of the shares. He says he'll take 16%, and the other 4% can be split evenly between you two. Han Qi hadn't expected that. A pang of shame hit him. His own mindset couldn't compare to a high schooler's. Brother He, our dividend allocation is based on capital contribution. There's no reason for you to give up 4 points. That may be, but if you hadn't let me in on this deal, I wouldn't be making a single cent. Besides, you two handle all the daily management. It's only fair you get more. My friend and I are more than happy just to get a little taste. Han Qi didn't know how to argue, so he looked to Tang Shengji for help. Tang Shengji chuckled. Brother He, your generosity is truly rare, but old Han and I aren't the type to take advantage. Shares must be distributed according to capital contribution. That's the rule. If Brother He feels old Han and I deserve extra compensation for management, then let the company pay us a salary. Han Qi nodded repeatedly. 1 is 1, 2 is 2. I agree, just pay us a salary. Huan smiled. Then I'll follow your lead, brothers. The agreement looks fine to me. Shall we sign now? Sure. The three signed, each taking a copy. Huan was about to pour tea when Han Qi said, Xiao Bin, you're the youngest here. Pour tea for Uncle Tang and your brother Huan. At school, Han Bin was a little terror, but at home, he was utterly obedient. He did whatever Han Qi said, because his old man never joked around and would act without hesitation. He looked at Huan awkwardly. Brother Huan, let me. Huan just smiled lightly and handed the teacup to Han Bin, pleased to see his son obeying. Han Qi nodded in satisfaction. Brother He, my boy goes to number 1 high, just like you. Yeah, we chatted a bit before you two arrived. Who knew we'd run into schoolmates here? Han Qi laughed. Fate works in mysterious ways. You're both young, both at the same school, you should talk more often. Then he turned to Han Bin with a stern face. From now on, learn from your brother Huan. You hear? Stop causing trouble every day. Han Bin kept his head down and didn't dare speak. He couldn't wrap his head around it. This guy was his age, yet he could casually drop 5 million and become his father's friend. Huan smiled. President Han, don't be too hard on your son. A dragon has 9 sons, each different. I'm no saint, there's plenty I don't know. Your boy and I can learn from each other and improve together. Han Chi clicked his tongue in admiration. Huan's words were perfectly measured, saving face for his son at such a young age. The kid was already a smooth operator, covering all bases, unlimited potential. He turned to look at his own son, who was holding the teapot and glancing around. Completely lost, Han Chi's anger surged. What are you staring at? Pour the tea. Han Bin gave a quick "oh" and hurriedly started pouring. With business out of the way, the conversation naturally turned casual. Han Chi took a sip of tea and smiled. Did you guys catch that news story recently? Some so-called expert actually suggested public rental housing shouldn't have private bathrooms. Pure nonsense. Tang Shengji laughed. It's all over the internet, how could I miss it? Seems like anyone can slap expert on their name these days. Han Bin wanted to sound sharp in front of the group, so he worked up the nerve to speak. Poor people are still people, not even giving them a bathroom, that's just inhumane. Huan, being a reincarnator, was already operating on a whole different level from everyone else at the table. He shook his head. In my opinion, that expert is a guy who actually understands history and human nature. The other 3 froze. The entire internet was ripping that guy apart. How could Huan be defending him? Tang Shengji leaned forward, genuinely curious. Really? You've got a different take on this, brother Huan smiled. Public rental housing is a lot like land. Let me ask you something, does farming actually make money these days? Make money farming? You'd be better off doing any random side job. Exactly. That's why the land is still in the hands of farmers right now. The money's not great, but at least a family of 3 can eat. The day farming actually turns profitable, all that land the farmers are holding, capital will swoop in and snatch every acre. Real farmers won't have any land left to work. Tang Shengji had the most education among them, and Huan's point hit him fast. So what you're saying is, if public rental housing came with private bathrooms, rich people would circle it like sharks, but without those bathrooms, they won't touch it. Exactly. That's the only way those apartments actually end up with the people who need them. In thousands of years of our history, every single dynasty change meant land got redistributed to the common people. But by the late period of each dynasty, through various forms of annexation, most of the land ended up concentrated back in the hands of the powerful. History's moved forward to today. Technology changes, ideas change, but human nature, that doesn't change. Traditional land grabs have evolved into wealth grabs. And by wealth, I mean money, real estate, and any enterprise or industry with fat margins. So public rental housing without bathrooms isn't about refusing to improve living conditions for the poor. It's a last resort. Think of that TV series, The Bronze Teeth. During a famine, Shen mixed chaff and hay into the relief grain so more people could survive. That's the only way the grain actually reached the starving victims. Sometimes you have to do the hard thing to get the right outcome. Tang Shengji and Han Chi sat back, visibly shaken. How deep into human nature would you have to dig to come up with an insight like that? And this was a high school kid. Tang Shengji said, "You're in the science track, right?" "Yeah, but this stuff isn't in any textbook. Read enough history, and the patterns start to show." Han Chi sighed. Honestly, sometimes you feel like a successful man who's been through hell and back. A normal high school kid. He groped for the right word and came up empty. Tang Shengji finished the thought. Like an old monster who's seen through every corner of the world. Huan laughed. That's a bit much. I literally just turned 18. You guys are laying it on thick. Come on, let's drink some tea. An hour later, Huan stood. Brothers, I'd better get going. Got to head back to school. Tang Shengji rose too. Brother talking with you today raised my whole way of thinking up a notch. I learned a lot. I need to head back to Jiang City for the Mid-Autumn Festival after the holiday. Let's meet up here again for tea. Sounds good, and I want to hear more wisdom from you two as well. Han Chi stood. Brother I'll drive you today. Don't argue. It's on my way. Huan knew Han Chi wanted his son to spend more time around him. No harm in it, so he didn't refuse. The four of them walked out of the tea house. A Range Rover sat at the entrance. Tang Shengji got in, traded a few pleasantries with everyone, and drove off. Han Chi drove a Mercedes. He dropped Huan and Han Bin at the gate of No. 1 high school. Before they got out, Han Chi turned to his son. Xiao Bin, you listen to your brother Huan from now on. You hear me? Han Bin had come to respect Huan a fair amount, but a teenager his age still had a rebellious streak dragging behind him. He stretched the words out. I know. Han Chi bristled at that tone and was about to scold him when Huan cut in. President Han, you can head back. If young people did every single thing their elders told them, they wouldn't be young, would they? Han Chi hadn't had much schooling, so the words snagged in his throat. He just drove off, looking a little defeated. Han Bin's admiration for Huan shot through the roof. He sidled up next to him, full of curiosity. Brother Huan, how are you this rich? You pulled out 5 million just like that. Huan frowned. That money was a friend's, and at school, don't mention anything about me and your dad doing business together. Han Bin said, oh. To him, this was Huan just being low-key and classy. Huan was about to step through the school gate when a familiar voice came from behind. Huan. He turned around. It was Cao Xin, the internet addict. Just coming back from the internet cafe? Cao Xin gave an embarrassed grin. Can't help it, addiction hits hard. Then his eyes landed on Han Bin and he asked, curious, who's this? Huan answered offhand. A friend, liberal arts class. Cao Xin greeted him politely. Hey, man. I'm Cao Xin. Huan's classmate. Han Bin glanced at Cao Xin's rough, worn-out clothes and didn't think much of him, but for Huan's sake, he nodded. Hey Han Bin. All right, Han Bin, class is about to start. Head back to your classroom. Han Bin nodded and left. Cao Xin walked alongside Huan and asked, curious, Huanzi, how do you know that guy? I saw you two get out of a Benz. We're not that close. I ran into him outside, and his dad was just really polite, insisted on giving us a ride back to school. Cao Xin didn't think twice about it. He lowered his voice. Your friend's got a bit of an attitude, though, don't you think? Doesn't seem easy to get along with. Huan knew Han Bin's type. They ran on street culture, all brotherhood and loyalty. One disagreement and they'd roll up their sleeves to throw down. Huan smiled. That's how rich kids are, noses in the air, looking down on everybody, but once he accepts you, he'll be fiercely loyal. When they got to the classroom, they each went to their own seat. Lan was clearly in a bad mood. She lay slumped over her desk, staring at nothing. Huan figured it probably had something to do with her parents, but that was family business. He was an outsider, no right to pry. Besides, things between them were still a long way from being okay. The bell rang, and Guojing walked in. She taught the lesson like always, her face completely calm, as if her home life wasn't falling apart. It was a holiday schedule, so the afternoon only had 2 classes. The boarding students needed time to get home. As soon as Guojing finished the lecture, she set down her textbook. Mid-Autumn Festival is almost here. I want to wish you all a happy holiday. But the college entrance exam gets closer every day. You've all got to grit your teeth and push through. Don't slack off, and don't let outside stuff distract you. No matter how tough it gets, you have to survive these last 218 days before National Day. We'll have a monthly exam, our first real test of senior year. I expect everyone to take it seriously. Use the break to study and review. Right then, the bell rang. A roar erupted outside as students flooded the hallway. Guojing saw every head in the room turn toward the window. Mine's already gone. She didn't waste another word. Close the doors and windows. Class dismissed. Huan felt that rush too. Student or office worker, everyone loves a holiday. He was just about to leave when Guojing said, "Huan, come to my office." Huan blinked. Who calls a student in right before a break? That was weird. The two of them headed to the office, one behind the other. Huan asked, "Teacher Guo, did you need something?" "No, I just wanted to ask how your studies are going. Any problems?" "It's okay. I can feel myself improving, but I won't know my exact standing until the monthly exam." You've been working hard lately. Other teachers have mentioned it too. Keep it up, but don't get a big head. The conversation hit a dead spot. Huan knew Guojing didn't call him in just to talk about grades, but even after a long pause, she still didn't get to the point. "Teacher Guo, is there something else?" Guojing hesitated, then pulled an envelope from her desk drawer. "I need you to give this letter to Li Jun, but be careful. Make sure that woman doesn't see it." "Don't worry, Teacher Guo. I'll handle it." "Thank you. Since it's a break, get some rest." Huan walked out and nearly bumped into Li Lan. He gave her a polite nod and turned away. Li Lan stepped into the office. "Mom, what's in the envelope?" Guojing forced a smile. "Nothing. Come on, let's go home. What do you want to eat? We'll grab it at the market." Meanwhile, Chen finally spotted Huan at the school gate. She pouted. "What took you so long? I've been waiting forever." "What could I do? My homeroom teacher grabbed me the second class ended." "Come on home first, or straight to Mom's shop?" "Let's drop our stuff at home first. Carrying books while shopping is a pain." The two went home, and Huan shoved the envelope into a drawer. Li Jun probably wasn't back yet. He'd find a chance to deliver it tonight. They took the bus to the pedestrian street, lined with clothing stores. E-commerce hadn't taken off yet, so the street was packed. Liu Mai was helping a customer try on an outfit when she spotted two familiar figures. "What are you two doing here?" Chen beamed. "Shopping for clothes, obviously." "What do you know about picking clothes?" "Wait till I'm free. I'll grab you a couple things from the mall." The mall only carried cheap stuff, 20 or 30 yuan at most. Chen pouted and turned her big eyes toward her brother for backup. "Mom, Chanchan's 16. She can handle buying a few clothes." "You go on. I'll take her around." With Huan backing her up, Chen found her nerve. "Exactly. The stuff you pick is always bright red or purple, so ugly. I'll choose my own." Liu Mai shot them a glare, but what could she do? Ever since Huan got his own money, her old threats meant nothing. All she could say was, "Remember to haggle when you pay, and ask for a couple pairs of socks thrown in." "Got it." Once they left, a coworker teased, "Sister Liu, kids grow up, they have their own tastes. Your style doesn't match what's trendy anymore." "What are you talking about? I'm just worried they can't tell quality and will waste money." "That's easy. Just give her 100 yuan and let her pick." Liu Mai had no good way to explain that it wasn't like she could say her son was a stock market millionaire out on the street. Huan and Chen each held a milk tea. Huan didn't actually like the super sweet stuff, but since his sister was treating, he played along. They walked into a clothing store. He Chen browsed for a bit, then her eyes locked onto a dress. Bro, hold my tea. I'm trying this on. Huan took the cup with a grimace. You've already hit half a dozen stores. If it fits, just buy it. I'm beat. We've only been to a few. Stop whining. She rolled her eyes and headed for the fitting room. A shop assistant brought over a small stool. Girls are like this when they shop for clothes. Have a seat and rest. Huan dropped onto it instantly. He could not figure out why girls never got tired from shopping. Soon enough, Chen bounced out of the fitting room wearing that dress. Bro, what do you think? Chen had inherited Liu Mai's good looks. She wasn't a stunning beauty, but she had that delicate, girl-next-door charm. Years of poor nutrition had kept her on the slender side, so the dress made her look even more youthful and lively. Huan smiled. It looks great. That dress was made for you. Let's get it. Chen twirled in front of the mirror a while longer, then said, It's pretty, but it's going to get cold soon. Won't be long before it's too chilly for dresses. That got Huan anxious. What are you talking about? It's still over 90 degrees every day. This is the perfect time to wear it. Chen still looked hesitant. Finally, she turned to the sales clerk. What's the lowest you can go on this dress? 128 yuan. We're a chain store, so the price on the tag is the price, but if you buy two, you get 10% off. Chen's face fell. That's way too expensive. Forget it. A dress for just over $100 is expensive. Do you have any idea how much cash I'm carrying right now? Huan really didn't want to keep wandering the mall. He was about to convince his sister to just buy it when a snide voice cut in from behind. 128 is too much. Chen, if you're that broke, maybe you shouldn't be shopping at all. Huan frowned and turned around. A flashily dressed, slightly chubby girl had just walked in, followed by a man and a woman who looked like her parents. A family of three. Huan wasn't exactly a saint. Hearing his sister get mocked, he fired right back. Where'd this ugly toad crawl out from? What's with all the croaking? The girl froze. She hadn't expected anyone to talk back. Her face twisted. Who do you think you are? I was talking to my classmate. Mind your own business. Then why are you jumping in so fast? I was talking to an ugly toad. Mind your own business. Chen saw the girl's parents scowling and worried Huan might get into trouble. She tugged his sleeve, signaling him to let it go. Who's this? A classmate of yours. From middle school. She never did great in school, but her family's got some money. They got her into Yuan High. Yuan High was a private school, widely considered the rich kid school in Dazi County. Tuition plus boarding ran over $5,000 a semester, but the actual academics were mediocre, at best. Maybe one or two students a year made it into a top-tier university. It was basically a paradise for slackers. Huan chuckled. Chan, let me tell you something. The genuinely rich kids in Dazi County are all at our school. Number 1 High. Your classmate here, just an ordinary family. Chen looked confused. But doesn't Number 1 High only take the top students from the whole county? Not necessarily. Kids without money rely on their grades. Kids with money rely on their parents. You got in on grades. Your classmate, she tried to rely on her parents and failed. That made Chen pause. She realized there were indeed a couple of students in her class with weaker foundations. Probably kids who got in through connections. Zhong Jingxing's face darkened. He barked at Huan. So what if you're good at studying? You've got no manners, cursing people out left and right? Huan shot him a sideways glance. Who did I curse? You just cursed my daughter. Is your daughter a toad? Zhong Jingxing's face went red. He couldn't admit it, and he couldn't deny it. Chen gently tugged Huan's shirt and whispered, Bro, let's just go buy clothes somewhere else. But Zhong Yuan's mother, Liang Jing, exploded. She yelled, "You two curse people out and think you can just walk away? If you don't apologize to my daughter, I'll call the cops and have you arrested." She pulled out her phone, pretending to dial. "Apologize for what? Your daughter sneers at my sister, but I can't talk back. Go ahead, call the cops. You think I'm scared?" Zhong Yuan refused to back down. "I wasn't wrong. Your sister wears the same clothes for 3 years. Won't even throw them out when they're torn. If that's not broke, what is?" The onlookers shook their heads. "You go out of your way to hit someone where it hurts. Of course they're going to curse you out." Huan asked flatly, "You think you're rich? Your mom and dad are rich? At least we're richer than you. Is that so?" Huan pulled out his phone and found the picture of the property deed. "My sister has a 140 square meter apartment. Dou?" Zhong Yuan craned her neck to look. Sure enough, the name on the deed was He Chen. Disbelief flooded her eyes. How could He Chen own an apartment? Her own family's place was only 120 square meters, and the deed was in her parents' names. Liang Jing spotted the deed on Huan's phone too. Doubt crept into her mind. Could these two siblings be connected to someone important? But then she looked at their shabby clothes and quickly dismissed the thought. She snorted. "Who knows if that deed is even real or just photoshopped? You're going to apologize today, or I'll make sure you regret it." "Go for it. Let's see how you make me regret it." Zhong Jingxing's face darkened further. "Kid, you're young. No need to be so aggressive." "I'm aggressive. What about your wife and daughter? You think you can just push us around? Let me tell you something. Anyone messes with me, I mess right back. Try me if you don't believe it." Zhong Jingxing's face went purple with rage. A high schooler acting this arrogant right in front of him. But he had no power, no connections, and no clean way to get revenge. Call the cops. A waste of time. They just slap both sides on the wrist and give them a lecture. Call someone. He was just a working man. Who could he call? Fight him. The kid wasn't tall, but he was nearly 6 feet. If he won, fine. If he lost, the humiliation would be unbearable. "I'm not going to stoop to your level. Come on, sweetie, daddy will buy you some Nikes." Zhong Yuan grinned like she'd already won, saying smugly to He Chen, "Go ahead and keep digging through that street stall junk. Why dad's taking me to buy Nikes." "Nikes? Big deal. Chanshan. Let's go. I'll take you to buy Nikes too." He Chen whispered, "Bro, forget it. Let's not fight with them." "Who's fighting? We both need shoes anyway. Come on, your brother's got plenty of money." Zhong Yuan curled her lip. "Bullshitter. Let's see if you actually buy anything." Huan was determined to save face for his sister. Under his insistence, He Chen had no choice but to follow. Both families arrived at the Nike store. A sales clerk spotted the small crowd and hurried over. "Are you all together?" Zhong Yuan made sure to speak loud and clear. "Who's together with those two bums? We're here to buy shoes. They're probably just here to window shop." The clerk was taken aback by the girl's hostility, but glancing at Huan and He Chen's shabby clothes, she bought the story without question. She ignored the siblings entirely and turned warmly toward Zhong Yuan's family. "Right this way. Please. We just got some new styles in. Let me show you what we have." The sales staff had pegged Huan as a second-class customer, but he didn't let it bother him. Nobody bugging him. Fine by him. "Chanshan, take a look and see if anything catches your eye." He Chen glanced at the price tags on the shoe display and winced internally. Even the cheapest pair was over 200, way beyond what she considered reasonable. She pulled Huan aside and whispered, "Bro, these shoes are too expensive. Let's go somewhere else. The most expensive pair here isn't even $1,000. How is that expensive? Pick whichever style you like. Don't worry, your brother's got plenty of money. Huan remembered when they'd bought furniture and appliances. Huan had the same attitude then, and no matter what the salesperson quoted, her brother's response was always the same. Cheap, buy it. A bed set for 18,000, cheap. Buy it. A dining table for 8,000, cheap. Buy it. A 42-inch LCD TV for 8,000, cheap, buy it. Now they were shoe shopping, and the priciest pair was under 1,000. Cheap. Buy it. $1,000 pair of shoes, that was insane. All the shoes she'd owned in her entire life probably didn't add up to that. Is this really about proving a point? You had to come here just to waste money. Waste? It's not like I'm buying them to throw away. Huan picked up a women's sneaker priced at $888 and said, "Try these on, see how they fit." Huan pouted, reluctant, but she slipped them on. She had to admit expensive shoes were expensive for a reason. They felt soft and breathable on her feet, really comfortable. From nearby, Yuan saw Huan trying on shoes and blurted out, "Can you even afford those? Don't spread your athlete's foot all over them." Huan's temper flared. He'd already let it slide once, and now they were still running their mouths. "And what if I can afford them?" Yuan saw the dark look on Huan's face and shut up again, too scared to say another word. But Yuan's mother snorted. "I bet you scraped together every last cent you have just for this one pair. Since you're so sure the three of us don't have any money, how about we make a bet? Whatever I buy, you buy 3 times as much. Whoever gives up first kneels down and apologizes. You're on. You two are nothing but beggars looking for a handout. What money could you possibly have?" Huan gave a cold laugh, then turned to Zhong Jingsheng. "Your wife wants to bet. What about you? You in?" Zhong Jingsheng looked conflicted. He muttered to his wife, "Liang, let it go. No point in fighting like this." "No point. Your own daughter gets cursed out to her face, and you're still tucking your head in like a turtle. Are you even a man?" Zhong Jingsheng's heart ached. His daughter was so arrogant and loud because his wife had spoiled her rotten. Liang Jing saw that Zhong Jingsheng wouldn't step up, and that only made her angrier. She turned to Huan. "I'll take that bet. Whoever loses kneels and admits they're wrong." "Fine, boss. Give me 3 pairs of this style." The sales assistant had been watching the drama unfold. She snapped back to reality and asked incredulously, "These are $888 a pair. Are you sure you want 3? Huan tugged at his sleeve urgently. "1 pair is enough." "1. 3 pairs are perfect so you can rotate them." Huan grinned at Liang Jing. "That means you get 9. Liang Jing's face went pale. 9 pairs would be almost 8,000. That was no small sum, pretty much her husband's entire monthly salary, and she wasn't running a shoe store. What was she going to do with 9 pairs of Nikes? While she hesitated, Huan spoke up. "If you can't afford it, just get on your knees and apologize." He's bluffing, she thought. 3 pairs of Nikes cost nearly 3,000. There was no way some broke student had that kind of money. Liang Jing steeled herself. 9 it is, Yuan. Go pick out your shoes. Yuan felt things were spiraling out of control. "Mom, maybe we should just drop it." "No, he's trying to scare me. I refuse to believe a poor student can actually come up with 2,700. Huan pulled out his wallet and counted all the cash inside. It came to exactly 3,000. He handed 2,700 to the manager. "Boss, pack up these 3 pairs first." The manager was thrilled. Today was turning into a goldmine. "Your turn to pay," Huan said cheerfully. Liang Jing felt a pang of regret. $8,000. You could buy 2 tons of rice with that, enough to last for years, but at least the kid was out of cash now. If she could make him and his sister kneel and apologize, 8,000 would be money well spent. Boss, 9 pairs of the same style, charge it. The manager's eyes lit up. Would you like to pick them out first? Huan cut in. What's the rush? Let her pay first, she can pick them out later. Confident she had the upper hand, Liang Jing said smugly, fine by me that I don't care about the shoes, that I just want to see you kneel down and apologize in front of everyone. The manager took her card and processed the payment for 8,000. Now you're out of cash, Liang Jing said triumphantly. But I've still got plenty in my account. So, ready to get on your knees? Huan chuckled and pulled out a bank card. Boss, same style, size 39, another 3 pairs. Liang Jing froze. He had a bank card too. How much money was on it? If she followed again, that would be another 8,000. She could grit her teeth and swallow one 8,000 hit, but a second one, even if she gritted her teeth until they hurt, she couldn't bring herself to do it. The problem was, she had no idea how much was on that card. If she kept going, it was a bottomless pit. What's the matter? Huan said. Feeling the pinch already? Running low on funds in your account? Liang Jing saw the smug look on his face, and whatever rational thought she had left burned away in a blaze of anger. Who said I'm out of money? I'll follow. 9 more. Liang, calm down, Zhong Jingsheng yelled from the side. Keep going and this will never end. Bullshit. His bluffing. There's no way some broke student has more money in his account. The manager was baffled too. What normal high schooler had that kind of cash? But the kid had already pulled out 3,000 in cash. Who knew if his card had more? Huan sneered. You'll find out soon enough, boss. Swipe it. The manager took the card and inserted it into the POS machine. Huan entered his PIN, and the payment went through. Huan raised an eyebrow. Your turn. 8,000. Liang Jing was past the point of no return. She swiped another 8,000. As soon as the payment went through, Huan spoke up again. Boss, 3 more pairs, size 42, swipe it again. By now, the store manager was already in a daze. Her initial excitement had gradually given way to nervousness. This conflict had spiraled far beyond anything she'd expected, and if it kept going, she had no idea how much more out of control it could get. When Huan saw the manager still standing there frozen, he spoke again. Manager, what are you spacing out for? Swipe the card. The manager swallowed hard and took the bank card. As the payment success chime sounded again, Liang Jing's composure completely shattered. It wasn't that her card had no money, it was money she had scrimped and saved. To throw away tens of thousands just to save face, that was insane. But to kneel down and admit she was wrong, that she couldn't stomach. Zhong Yuan was finally truly scared. She grabbed Liang Jing's clothes and sobbed, Mommy, stop. I was wrong. Giving up already. What if my card is actually empty? Liang Jing looked at Huan's smug expression, her face turning livid. Huan twisted the knife. If you don't want to keep going, fine, just kneel down and apologize. Liang Jing couldn't take his taunting anymore. She yelled, I'll keep going, boss, swipe the card. Zhong Jingsheng snatched the card away and shouted, Have you lost your mind? This is a bottomless pit, and no matter how much money we throw in, it'll never be enough. Are we supposed to live on air? Huan was genuinely worried they would quit, so he coaxed, You never know. I'm just a beggar, right? How much could be in my card? Keep going, you might still win in the end. Brother. Chen was too kind-hearted. She tugged at his sleeve and pleaded, You've already let off steam, let it go. Huan said nothing, just stared coldly at Liang Jing helpless. Chen turned to Liang Jing. Unless you've got 1.5 million in that card, you'd better just admit defeat now. 1.5 million meant the kid's card had at least 500,000. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Who would have guessed a high schooler could be so rich? Liang Jing's eyes went blank. She staggered, nearly collapsing. She was absolutely certain He Chen was telling the truth. He Huan had been setting a trap from the start, and she had walked right into it like a fool. Now she had lost the money and still had to kneel and apologize. In her whole life, she had never felt so humiliated. While she hesitated, there was a thud. Zhong Jingsheng dropped to his knees, his voice trembling. "I'll apologize for my wife. We were wrong. I'm sorry." Everyone was stunned. A man's knees are worth gold. No one kneels unless they have no other choice. He Huan said coldly. If you'd known this would happen, why act like that in the first place? Teach your daughter to keep a low profile from now on. Zhong Jingsheng finally stood up. A man in his 40s, kneeling and apologizing to a teenage high schooler, even with a thick skin, his face burned. Thankfully, the conflict was finally over. Liang Jing couldn't bear to lose the 18,000. She went to the shoe store owner and asked for a refund on some of the shoes. The owner had made enough money today, so he magnanimously agreed to refund 9 pairs. He Chen wanted to return a few pairs too, but He Huan flatly refused. "We already bought them. Why go through the hassle of returning them? I can earn back the cost of these 9 pairs in 9 minutes. You make 888 a minute. Who do you think you are, a celebrity?" He Huan chuckled to himself. "You think I'm a millionaire, but I actually make $1 million a day." About 10 minutes later, the siblings walked into the men's clothing store where Liu Mai worked. Liu Mai saw them loaded down with bags and asked, "Why did you two buy so much? What's all this? Why all shoes? And all Nikes?" Liu Mai turned to He Chen, fire blazing in her eyes. He Chen felt more wronged than anyone. She said pitifully, "Big brother bought them all. I told him we didn't need them, but he insisted." When Liu Mai's sharp gaze landed on him, He Huan panicked and made something up. "Mom, these are knockoffs from the street market. 70 or 80 yuan a pair. Altogether it's only about 700. Ask Chanshan if you don't believe me." He Chen nodded frantically. "Yeah, they're all cheap knockoffs." Liu Mai snapped, "Do you think I'm stupid? You think I can't tell real from fake?" He Huan silently cursed his own stupidity. His mother worked in this business. She knew every shop on this street. He'd walked straight into the line of fire. "Excuse me, how much is this shirt?" A couple had just walked into the store. Seeing the other sales clerks busy, Liu Mai went to greet them herself. He Huan felt a wave of relief. He called out, "Mom, Chanshan and I are heading home first." He Chen blinked. "Aren't we buying clothes?" "We'll do it tomorrow. Didn't you see how mad Mom is? Let's get out of here." Not knowing whether to laugh or cry, He Chen picked up the bags and followed her brother. Liu Mai watched them go, fuming inside. "You two spendthrifts, spending money like water. Just wait till I get home and deal with you." When Liu Mai got home from work, she heard clattering from the kitchen. She went over and found He Huan wearing an apron and stir-frying, while He Chen was chopping vegetables. He Huan noticed his mother and gave her a warm smile. "Mom, take a break, dinner will be ready soon." He Chen added, "Mom, my brother and I bought you a bouquet of carnations. It's on the coffee table, see if you like them." Liu Mai looked over. A few white carnations were in full bloom. Seeing them trying so hard to butter her up, Liu Mai couldn't help but burst out laughing. But then she remembered she was supposed to be angry and deliberately put on a stern face. "How much did you spend on those shoes?" 8,000. "What? 8,000? The last trace of maternal tenderness instantly vanished. "He Huan, do you think your wings are so grown now that I can't control you anymore?" Facing her anger, He Huan already had his story ready. "Mom, you know that 600,000 in cash I have? I invested 500,000 today." "What? You invested 500,000. In what? A real estate project. Liu Mai was deeply skeptical. At your age, how can you get involved in real estate? It was a lucky coincidence that I go to a tea house every day at lunch, and a lot of business people hang out there. Today I happened to overhear a real estate developer named Tang saying he was short on funds for a project and looking for investors. Since we've been chatting and getting along well these past few days, he let me invest 500,000. Liu Mai wasn't sure whether to believe him. Huan had mentioned wanting to invest before, but she never imagined he'd jump into a real estate project. Huan went on, "Look, I'm basically a businessman now. I'm already young. If I dress like a bum, nobody's gonna take me seriously." That made Liu Mai's chest tighten with guilt. Her son was always racking his brain to earn money, and she couldn't help with any of it. Still, you could have just grabbed a few pairs of Nikes. Why so many? If I'm buying for myself, I'm buying for you and Qian too. You really think I'm the type to enjoy nice things while you two go without? What does it matter if Qian and I dress a little shabby? We're not out there doing business face to face. That's nonsense. Then why am I even making money? So you can eat whatever you want, buy whatever you want, do whatever you want. Don't pinch pennies for my sake. If you do, all this means nothing. Big ideas for a little squirt. Look at you, showing off. What happens when you end up broke again someday? Don't worry, once I've earned enough, I'll stop, stick the money in the bank and live off the interest. Qian asked, "How much would you have to earn for that?" "Not that much, just 100 million. The daily interest would be around 4,000, plenty for us to coast on." 4,000 a day just from interest. Oh my god, rich people really do have it easy. Bro, when are you gonna make 100 million? Make 100 million. Get real, stop daydreaming all day. Huan grinned. Mom, what if I really do make 100 million? Then I'll knock some sense into that head of yours. Liu Mai suddenly sniffed the air. What's that burning smell? All three turned toward the pot. The yellow croaker inside was sending up black smoke. Huan quickly shut off the gas. Whoops, got talking and forgot to add water. Liu Mai grumbled, out of the way. Can't even fry a fish properly and you dream about being a billionaire. Ruined a perfectly good fish. Qian giggled. Bro, I think even if you turn into a billionaire, you'll never escape Mom's grip. Huan chuckled. Wherever Mom is, that's home. Where else would I go? Hearing that, Liu Mai cracked a smile. Well, at least you've got a conscience. You and Qian go watch TV. I'll call you when dinner's ready. Qian was impressed by her brother's silver tongue. One sentence and Mom was beaming again. Liu Mai finished cooking and found Qian trying on shoes. Time to eat, stop primping. Qian carried a pair of white sneakers over to Liu Mai. Mom, try these on. Bro got them for you. Why would I wear shoes this expensive? You keep 'em. I wear a size 38. These three are 39. Didn't bro say we each get 3 pairs? Honestly, aren't they a waste on me? Liu Mai grumbled, but deep down she was pleased. She'd poured 18 years into raising Huan, and now that he had money, he was giving back. She slipped on the new shoes and took a few steps. They fit perfectly, the quality was good, and they felt really comfortable. Finally, she couldn't help smiling. So I do get to enjoy a little something from you, son. Not just a little. Mom. Don't forget, bro bought this house too. Qian, you've been acting different lately. Why are you always sticking up for your brother? He's my brother. Who else would I stick up for? Oh, so before he wasn't your brother? Qian's face went red. She used to butt heads with Huan all the time, but now she felt like he was stepping up like a real adult. Without even noticing, she'd started to look up to him. I'm not arguing with you. I'm gonna call my brother for dinner. Liu Mai mimicked He Qian's tone, pitching her voice high. I'm gonna call my brother for dinner. He Qian's face burned even hotter. She shot Liu Mai a glare and pretended to fume. Mom, if you keep that up, I'm gonna get mad. Liu Mai laughed. Alright, go call your brother for dinner. He Qian opened He Huan's door and found him sitting in front of the computer. She knew he was messing around with stocks. Bro, how much did the stocks make today? These days, He Qian's favorite thing was asking how much He Huan had earned. It felt like dropping coins into a piggy bank that grew every day, a little burst of happiness. Not bad, made about 7,000 today. In reality, the small 50,000 yuan account had only pulled in a little over 3,000 that day, but He Huan always padded the numbers so he could hand the He family relatives a bigger share during New Year's to keep anyone from getting suspicious. He added extra money to that account each time. A hassle, but he didn't have much choice. He Qian's eyes narrowed with delight. Wow, you made that much today? Don't worship me, just normal operation. Come on, let's eat. Liu Mai overheard them talking as she set the dishes on the table. She asked, Huan, is there really 518,000 in the stock account now? Yeah. What's up, Mom? Nothing. It's just scary. You made 18,000 in only 3 days. He Qian giggled. Like bro said, just normal operation, stay calm. He Huan said, but almost half of that 18,000 is profit from the He family side. We only made a little over 9,000 ourselves. Bro, you're so modest. Mom doesn't earn as much in a month as you do in a day. Liu Mai shot He Qian a look. Go get the rice. Like you were the one who earned that money. The three sat down to eat. He Qian was still buzzing, chattering at He Huan non-stop. He Huan noticed Liu Mai seemed distracted. Mom, what's wrong? Liu Mai snapped back to the present. Nothing. I was just thinking about what gifts to bring when we go to Grandma's tomorrow. The moment He Qian heard that, she pouted. What's there to think about? Buy some mooncakes at the supermarket. We can't just buy mooncakes. We need some meat, some fruit, things like that. He Huan smiled. Mom, you've already got it figured out, same as every year, right? Liu Mai didn't answer, and her frown deepened. He Huan added, if you think it's not enough, just give Grandma a red envelope, 800 or 1,000. Liu Mai hesitated for a long moment, then finally said, He Huan, do you want to teach your two uncles how to trade stocks too? No way. He Qian blurted out without thinking. They borrowed Dad's compensation money and haven't paid it back after all these years. Why should we take them under our wing? But they're struggling right now. Their kids need school fees and they've got no income. If they start trading stocks, at least they'd earn something. That's their own problem. If it weren't for bro trading stocks, our family wouldn't even have tuition money right now. Did they ever care how we were doing? Did any of them ever come help? Liu Mai couldn't argue with He Qian, so she just lowered her head and picked at her food. He Huan was troubled too. Deep down, he wanted nothing to do with his two uncles, but he had to consider his mother's feelings. After a moment of silence, He Huan said, Mom, tomorrow tell them my tuition still isn't paid and ask them to give the money back. See how they react. If they're willing to repay, no matter how much, even 500 or 1,000, I'll teach them to trade. If they still don't care, then I don't think we should take them in. Liu Mai was quiet for a while, then finally nodded. Dinner ended in silence between mother and daughter. He Qian went to her room to do her homework, and Liu Mai cleared the dishes. He Huan remembered Teacher Guo's letter and called toward the kitchen. Mom, I'm heading out for a bit. I'll be back soon. Liu Mai wanted to ask where he was going, But her son was already making his own money and thinking for himself, no sense holding him too tight, so she just said, "All right, don't be too late." Huan said he'd be back, went to his room to grab the envelope Guo Jing had given him, and walked out the door. He couldn't understand it. Cell phones and texting were everywhere now. Even if some things were hard to say out loud, you could still send an SMS or an instant message. Why go through all this old-fashioned letter business? He slipped the envelope into his pocket and knocked on the door across the hall. Zhu Minute answered, looking surprised to see him. "Can I help you? I need to talk to Uncle Li about something." Zhu Minute called inside. "Li Jun, one of Li Lan's classmates, is here to see you." Li Jun came out wearing an apron. "Hey there. Is everything okay with Li Lan at school?" Huan remembered Teacher Guo's instructions. The letter had to be delivered to Li Jun in private, so he said, "Yeah, she asked me to call you downstairs, said she wants to talk to you alone." Li Jun knew Li Lan and Zhu Minute weren't getting along these days, so he didn't think twice. He pulled off the apron, handed it to Zhu Minute, and said, "The ribs in the pot need 2 more minutes. Go ahead and eat. I'll be right back." Zhu Minute was clearly annoyed, but she kept her face neutral. She said okay and went back inside. Huan led Li Jun down the stairs and around a corner, far enough that Zhu Minute wouldn't be able to see them from the window. Then he stopped. Li Jun glanced around, puzzled. "Where's Lan Lan? I don't see her." Huan pulled out the envelope. "Li Lan isn't here. Teacher Guo asked me to give this to you privately." Li Jun froze for a second. He tore open the envelope, pulled out 2 sheets of paper, and started reading under the dim streetlight. As his eyes moved down the page, they grew red at the rims. Huan had to admit he was curious. What was on those 2 pages that could make a grown man like Li Jun tear up? But it was personal. He didn't feel right asking. After a long moment, Li Jun lowered the papers, folded them carefully, and tucked them into his pocket. "Uncle Li, if there's nothing else, I'll head back now." "Wait. It's late. Have you eaten yet?" "I already ate." "If you haven't, come have a drink with me." Huan's face twisted into a deeply awkward expression. "I just said I ate," but looking at the defeat written all over Li Jun's face, he couldn't bring himself to say no. They walked to a barbecue spot just outside the neighborhood. Li Jun ordered some skewers, then turned to Huan. "So, can you drink?" Huan shook his head. "Never really tried." "I'll get you some beer then." Huan made that awkward face again. Is Li Lan's dad hard of hearing or what? Li Jun ordered 3 bottles of beer and a bottle of baijiu. They sat down at an outdoor table. Li Jun poured himself a glass of baijiu and raised it toward Huan. "Little brother, thanks for bringing me that letter today. Come on, let's have one." Huan wanted to grumble. There wasn't even any food on the table yet, just a tiny dish of free peanuts. Starting already. Even a singer gets an intro before the song, but Li Jun already had his glass in the air, so Huan had no choice but to pour himself a beer. They clinked glasses. Li Jun downed half his baijiu in one go. A tea least a liang. Huan didn't want to lose face, so he drained his beer. Li Jun looked surprised. "You just said you couldn't drink." Huan could drink, of course. Just not in this life. In his previous one, he could. He gave a wry smile. "I've got no tolerance, but I've got nerve. I just pour it down. Sweet, bitter, doesn't matter. What's there to be afraid of? Drink first, worry later." A rare smile cracked Li Jun's troubled face. "You're an interesting kid. Only someone your age has that kind of guts and fire. For us middle-aged guys stuck in the middle, we overthink everything. Drink too little and the client's unhappy. Drink too much and your health suffers, plus the family nags at you." He paused, as if something had just occurred to him, and gave a bitter laugh. "Of course, there's no one around to nag me now." Huan figured the nagging used to come from teacher Guo. We've all got our struggles. All that trigonometry and electromagnetic induction we learn, does it matter once we're out in the real world? Not one bit. But what can you do? The college entrance exam tests it that if you don't learn it, you can't get into a good university. Fate doesn't play favorites with anyone. We're all stuck. Once you're in the game, you don't get to call the shots. Once you're in the game, you don't get to call the shots. Li Jun repeated the words, his expression darkening. He picked up his glass and finished the rest of his baijiu. Huan had no choice but to match him with another beard. Li Jun hadn't eaten a single bite, and he'd already put away 2 liang of hard liquor. The buzz settling in, he spoke slowly. Life is short, you know, what's the point of it all? Huan's heart skipped. That was a dangerous question. If you couldn't find an answer, you might end up on the evening news the next day. I think the biggest meaning in life comes down to 2 things, hope and being needed. Even when life sucks, you've got to hold on to something good you're looking forward to. Like us high school students, high school is brutal, but we still dream about acing the college entrance exam. That hope is what keeps us grinding through all the boring, miserable days. As for being needed, I think that's not just proof of a person's value. It's the biggest meaning there is. If one day no one in this world needs you anymore, then being alive and being dead are pretty much the same thing. Li Jun thought about what was in the letter, and his eyes reddened again. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. That day at the Civil Affairs Bureau, your teacher Guo and I were both fighting for custody of Li Lan. And right there in front of me, she told us she could live without a dad, but not without her mom. Your teacher Guo and I, we fell out of love, that's true, but for Lan Lan, I gave her everything, held nothing back, and in the end, to her, I'm just someone she could take or leave. By the end, Li Jun's voice was thick. He poured himself another full glass of baijiu, took a small sip, and went on. Do you know what Guo Jing wrote in that letter? She begged me, for the sake of the good times we had, to spend these last few months with Lan Lan properly. Let her take the college entrance exam in peace, and then we can get divorced. Now I don't know what to do. If I divorce, I'm afraid I'll hurt Lan Lan. If I don't, I'm betraying myself. And no matter what I choose, I'm wrong. Huan had no idea what to say. In a family mess like this, any advice he gave would be wrong. He sighed. I don't really know the whole story between you and teacher Guo, but from what I've seen, I get why Li Lan chose her over you. Li Jun turned to him, anxious. Is it because of Zhu Minute? Zhu Min's a big part of it. Nobody wants a stranger to become part of their family. That kind of wound never really heals, but more than that, Li Lan is just closer to teacher Guo than she is to you. Li Jun clearly didn't agree and started to argue, but Huan kept talking. I know you'll say you care about Li Lan just as much as teacher Guo does, but that's only how you see it in Li Lan's heart. She thinks teacher Guo loves her more. So that's who she sticks with, plain and simple. Even if you can give her a better life, she doesn't care. How can that be? How can it not be? Kids run on emotion. You know what teacher Guo is like. She was willing to swallow her pride and beg you to wait until after the college entrance exam to get divorced, just so Li Lan could do her best. Meanwhile, you're still hung up on every grievance you've suffered in this marriage. I believe you love Li Lan, but you love yourself too. Teacher Guo might be a little domineering, but her love for Li Lan is unconditional. That's why Li Lan chose her over you. Li Jun's face twisted in pain, and he knocked back another big gulp of baijiu. Huan couldn't help but worry. At this pace, was he going to be okay? Maybe it was the alcohol, or maybe just the hurt. But Li Jun's voice cracked. Brother, you don't get it. I'm struggling too. I make 500,000 or 600,000 a year, but what good is it? Every day I walk in that door, And your teacher Gua picks on every little thing that I don't wash my hands before eating. She says something that I take too long in the bathroom. She says something. I can't even check my phone in bed without her jumping on me the second I walk through that door. Everything I do is wrong, but I'm a man. I need a little dignity, a little space. I'm not one of her students. I don't need her lecturing me. Listening to Li Jun, Huan felt a tightness in his chest. It was unavoidable. A lot of teachers' marriages went that way. They got used to being on a pedestal and criticizing their partners. Li Jun reached for his drink again, but this time Huan stopped him. Uncle Li, take it easy, the food hasn't even come yet. Li Jun set down the glass. I know cheating is wrong, but I didn't have a choice, Huan smiled. Uncle Li, I'm a man too. I get it. Li Jun's opinion of Huan shot up. See, only men truly understand men. Right then, the server brought the barbecue. Huan placed a few lamb skewers into Li Jun's bowl. Uncle Li, eat something first, settle your stomach. You too. They ate, talked, and clinked glasses every so often. About an hour later, Li Jun had finished his bottle of baijiu and cracked open a beer. Huan had had about 3 beers himself. Both were buzzed, arms around each other's shoulders, calling each other brothers. Li Jun slurred, little brother, I know Zhu Minute probably doesn't really love me, but she listens. She never gives me attitude. What does a man want in life? Just a woman who understands him, right? Huan shot back, she understands you. Come on. You're decades apart in age. What common ground do you even have? You're not even on the same wavelength. Besides, when I saw you tonight, you were the one in an apron cooking. I didn't exactly see her being the devoted wife. If you ask me, you're just into her youth and looks. Li Jun chuckled. That's part of it, sure, but mostly, her personality is way better than your teacher Gua's. Sounds to me like you're jumping from one pit into another. The day you run out of money, she might show her real face. Li Jun, who'd been reaching for more food, froze. Little brother, how can you be so sure? Hard to tell if someone's words are true or false, but their body language and expressions don't lie. You're a smart guy. I don't believe you haven't noticed after all this time with her. Li Jun had nothing to say. He downed the last sip of his baijiu. Actually, I used to have illusions. A couple days ago, Zhu Minute suddenly told Lan Lan she was pregnant. Lan Lan got really upset and stormed off without eating. Later, I asked Zhu Minute why she'd lie about that. She said she wanted to have a child with me and wanted to test Lan Lan's reaction. But I've been in business for years, I'm not stupid. She said it on purpose to push me into divorcing Guojing faster. Now that I think about it, Zhu Minute is pretty calculating. Huan remembered running into Li Lan at the community gate that day. His mom had invited her to eat with them. Teacher Gua says what she means. She speaks her mind, even if she has a temper. I used to resent her. But now I see she was always looking out for us students. Li Jun stared at Huan. Are you trying to defend your teacher Gua? Huan didn't deny it. She's my homeroom teacher. I kind of have to speak up for her. So you think I should stay with Guojing? The problem is, even if you wanted to get back together, she's too proud to agree. Li Jun fell silent, knowing Guojing. As soon as Li Lan's college entrance exam was over, she'd file for divorce. You're right. I made one wrong move, and now everything's messed up. Life isn't about right or wrong, it's just different choices. But as a father, you should think like teacher Gua and put Li Lan's feelings first. Li Jun let out a soft sigh, unsure which way to go next. As the two of them fell silent, a phone rang. Huan pulled out his phone and saw the caller ID. Liu Mai. He answered quickly. Mom, I'm still out at dinner with a friend. I'll be home soon. Didn't you already eat dinner? Why are you eating again? My friend wanted to talk about something. Oh, okay. Be careful on your way back. Huan hung up and looked across the table. Li Jun was sprawled out, motionless. Seriously, after just 1 minute, you're out? That's way too fast. Huan called his name several times and no response at all. Startled, he leaned down to check his pulse. Thank God, he was fine, just dead drunk still. This gave him a headache. If you can't hold your liquor, why drink so much? Now he had to drag him to the hospital in the middle of the night. Huan pulled out his phone and called for an ambulance. While waiting for the ambulance, he went to the counter to pay the bill. At least they hadn't eaten much. The last 300 yuan on him was just enough. Yes, everyone knows. A drunk guy weighs a ton. So when the ambulance arrived, Huan asked the barbecue shop owner and a few passers-by to help lift Li Jun onto the stretcher. Huan naturally rode along in the ambulance. On the way, he thought it over and decided to call Guojing. When Guojing answered an unfamiliar number, she figured it was a spam call, but the voice on the other end said, "Teacher Guo, this is Huan. Uncle Li got drunk. Can you come to People's Hospital?" Guojing said, surprised, "How did he end up with you? You asked me to deliver a letter. After that, he dragged me out to eat, and then he drank way too much. I told him not to." Fine, I'm on my way." Li Lan had just finished her shower. "Mom, what's going on?" "Your dad got drunk again. Stay home and rest. I'm heading to the hospital." "What? Again? I'm coming with you." Guojing knew her daughter was worried. Blood is thicker than water, after all. "All right, get dressed. Let's go." Mother and daughter took a taxi to the county people's hospital and found Li Jun lying on a bed in the emergency room. Li Lan looked around but didn't see Huan. Her voice turned sharp. "How could Huan just leave before we even got here? That's so irresponsible." Guojing frowned. "He was nice enough to bring your dad to the hospital, and you're still complaining. It's late. He should be home resting. That doesn't mean he couldn't wait a few more minutes." Just then, a nurse walked in. Li Lan hurried over. "Doctor, how's my dad? Is he okay?" "What's there to worry about? He's just drunk. A few 4 bags and he'll be fine once he sobers up." The nurse glanced around. "By the way, did that young man come back yet?" "Young man? You mean Huan? Didn't he leave?" "No, isn't he paying the bill and picking up the medicine?" The nurse had barely finished speaking when Huan rushed in, carrying a plastic bag. "What took you so long to get the medicine?" Huan handed the bag over. "Sorry, I didn't have enough cash on me. Had to run out to the ATM." The nurse said nothing and left with the medicine. Huan greeted Guojing. "Teacher Guo, you're here." "Yeah. You've been drinking too?" "A little." Uncle Li insisted. "I just had some beer." "He knows you're still a student. If he's going to drink, why drag you into it?" Huan didn't know how to answer that, so he just gave an awkward smile. "Well, thank you for tonight. How much did you pay up front? I'll give you the money." "The ambulance plus the other fees, about 500. Guojing pulled 600 from her wallet. "Thank you." Huan only took 500, leaving the extra 100 in her hand. "You're welcome, Teacher Guo. I'll just take what I spent. No need to be so polite." Guojing didn't push it. "Are you heading back now?" "Yeah, my mom's waiting for me at home." Right then, the nurse came back carrying 3-4 bags. Overhearing their conversation, she asked, surprised, "Wait, you're not all family?" Guojing looked embarrassed. "No, he's one of my students. He happened to be with my husband and brought him in." That's a problem. The patient is going to throw up soon. Someone needs to be here to take care of him. Can't my daughter and I handle it? You two don't have the strength. When he vomits, you need to turn him on his side. If the vomit blocks his airway, it's dangerous, and later, he might need to use the bathroom. It won't be easy for you two to help with that. Guo Jing looked at Huan, apologetic. I might need to trouble you a little more. Huan wanted to cry, his one day off, wasted in a hospital. And when had he ever played nurse like this? Even his future father-in-law hadn't gotten this treatment, but despite his complaints, he said, no problem. It's the least I can do. The nurse finished setting up the four and left. The room fell into an awkward silence. Guo Jing coughed deliberately, cueing Li Lan to say something, anything, to thank Huan. Li Lan had always been proud, but tonight, Huan had really come through, especially after she just misunderstood him. Huan, thank you for taking care of my dad. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was sincere. Huan felt a small stir in his chest, but he quickly cooled it. You're welcome. It's nothing. Li Lan noticed his still distant attitude for the first time, though it didn't spark that familiar irritation. She just thought to herself, he may be dense, but he has good character and no point getting worked up over someone like him. Li Jun lay in bed, for drip running. Guo Jing and her daughter stayed at his side. Huan had promised his mom he'd be home soon. Now he was stuck at the hospital. It'd be at least 2 hours before Li Jun sobered up. To keep Liu Mai from worrying, Huan called her. She answered after the first ring. Huan, why aren't you home yet? Mom, I can't come back just yet. That friend of mine got drunk, and I had to bring him to the hospital. Probably be another 2 hours. Are you seriously at the hospital? Of course. Why would I lie about this? You're not at an internet cafe? Huan's face darkened, as though that's what she was worried about. Why would I go to an internet cafe? We have a computer at home. If I wanted to game, I'd do it there. Then send me a picture of the hospital. Huan was about to laugh and agree, but Guo Jing spoke up. Let me talk to her. Without hesitating, Huan handed over the phone. After all, the homeroom teacher's word carried more weight than his. Hello, Huan's mom. This is Guo Jing, his homeroom teacher. Liu Mai was clearly startled to hear her voice. Her tone immediately shifted to respectful. Oh, Teacher Guo, hello. Hello. You're there with Huan? Yes, actually, my husband got drunk, and Huan was the one who brought him to the hospital. I wanted to let him go home, but the doctor said it's better to have a man stay and help take care of him. I'm afraid I need to ask him to stay a bit longer. No trouble at all. It's the least he should do. If you need anything, just tell him. He's got plenty of strength. Guo Jing laughed. Thank you, Huan's mom. After hanging up, Guo Jing was about to hand the phone back to Huan when a stock trading app on the screen caught her eye. She asked, curious, is this your phone? Huan answered with a nervous ham. Phones were banned at school, after all. Not bad, a Nokia N73. Just don't use it in class. Huan felt like he'd been granted a pardon and quickly took the phone back. Guo Jing kept her voice casual. When you had lunch with Li Jun today, did he say anything? He said Zhu Min's pregnancy was fake. Fake? Yeah, she made it all up to fool Li Lan. Guo Jing pieced it together instantly. She thought to herself, Zhu Min. Li Jun spends every day at your place now, and you still can't wait to force a divorce. Are you that impatient? What else did he say? Huan hesitated. He said going home feels like he's under a mountain. Even breathing feels like a mistake. That's why he trailed off, but Guo Jing and Li Lan both understood the rest. Li Lan's voice rose. Cheating is cheating. Those are just excuses. Guo Jing sighed softly. Alright, since there's nothing more for now, go rest on the next bed. Huan didn't move. Teacher Guo, someone once told me something that stuck with me. Can I share it with you? Go ahead. He said, a monk who chooses not to eat meat is an enlightened master, but a monk who forces everyone around him to stop eating meat, that's a demon in robes. Li Lan's eyes went wide with surprise and admiration. She'd always thought her mother was too overbearing, but she'd never dared to speak up. She never expected Huan, with a single honest sentence, to point out her mother's flaw so clearly. Guo Jing hadn't expected a student with poor grades like Huan to lecture her either, but his words made so much sense she found herself unable to argue. Just then, Li Jun on the hospital bed let out a dry heave. Huan reacted in a flash. He lifted Li Jun's upper body, turned him on his side, and supported his head over the edge of the bed. Li Lan was ready too, holding the trash can under her father's mouth. A loud retch, and clumps of vomit spilled out. A sour, pungent smell hit Huan square in the face. He swallowed down his own nausea, keeping a steady hand on the back of Li Jun's head. Half a minute later, Li Jun settled, still fast asleep. Li Lan grabbed tissues and carefully wiped her father's lips out of the corner of her eye. She saw Huan gently lowering her father back onto the bed. A strange feeling rose in her chest, like she and Huan were family, working side by side to care for a drunk father. The thought made her heart flutter. This guy's grades are terrible, and he's always so cold to me. How could he ever be part of my family? She stole a glance at Huan, who was now pulling the blanket over her father's exposed stomach. The hospital air conditioning was running, and without a cover, he might catch a chill. Li Lan's heart felt like a still lake disturbed by a pebble, ripples spreading outward. How had she never noticed before? He was actually kind of good-looking and thoughtful. Lan, is your dad still not awake? Guo Jing's voice cut through her daydreamed. Li Lan ducked her head and answered quickly, no, not yet. Her heart hammered in her chest, as if her secret had been discovered. She glanced at her mother, but luckily Guo Jing's attention was fixed on her father. Huan finished tucking in the blanket and sat on the next bed. Uncle Li will probably be out for a while longer. Throwing up was good though, his stomach won't feel as bad now. Li Lan spoke softly. Huan, you drank too, are you okay? Huan blinked. The class beauty, always so cold to him, was actually showing concern. I only had beer, and not much. I'm fine. Mom, I'm going to grab some water for Dad. He might be thirsty when he wakes up. Guo Jing smiled at her daughter's thoughtfulness. All right, do you have money? Ham. A little while later, Li Lan came back carrying a plastic bag. Mom, here's water for you. Guo Jing took the bottle. Did you get one for Huan too? Yeah. Li Lan walked over to Huan and handed him a can of wanglaoji. The aluminum was beaded with cold condensation, ice cold to the touch. I know you like tea, not soda, so I got you this. Was wanglaoji really tea? It was clearly a soft drink. But that wasn't the point. The point was the class beauty was acting strange today. Not only was she talking more, but her voice was gentle, and she was being surprisingly polite. Huan didn't dwell on it. He was too thirsty. With a simple thanks, he took the can, popped the tab, tilted his head back, and chugged it in deep gulps. A sudden wave of happiness washed over Li Lan. He hadn't refused. Just as she turned to step away, her gaze caught on his Adam's apple bobbing as he drank. Embarrassment flooded her cheeks. She spun around and stared down at her toes. In the quiet emergency room, a girl's face flushed crimson. Guo Jing felt the silence stretching thin, so she broke it. Huan, did your family come into some money lately? You're covering ambulance rides and hospital bills like it's nothing now. Huan had been expecting this question eventually. He kept his voice casual. My mom made some money in the stock market. Your mom plays the market. She doesn't, she gave the money to a relative to handle for her. The stock craze was everywhere these days, even among Guo Jing's co-workers. Plenty of people had jumped in. Honestly, every time Guo Jing overheard her colleagues talking about their stock gains, she felt a little sting of envy, but doing it herself was a different story. For one, she didn't know how. For another, she was scared of losing money. She leaned in, curious. Which stocks did your mom buy? Something shipping related. I think. I don't really know the details. How much did she make? Over 100,000. Guo Jing blinked. That much? How much did she put in? About 100,000 in principal. She borrowed it. No wonder the kid had been living it up lately. His family had hit a real windfall. Guo Jing had close to 200,000 saved up, but thinking about raising Li Lan on her own, she still felt the pressure. If she could ride along and make some money in the market, at least the burden wouldn't feel so heavy. Once the decision settled in her mind, she turned to Huan. Huan, could you ask your relative which stocks he's buying? Huan knew immediately what she was after. She wanted in. He really didn't want to get too entangled with Li Lan in this life, and if he brought teacher Guo into the market, it would pull him into a whole lot more. Huan hesitated, and Guo Jing read the reluctance on his face. Her voice dipped with disappointment. I was just asking. If it's not convenient, forget it. Shame washed over Huan. In this life and the last, Guo Jing, his homeroom teacher, had poured effort into him. And here he was being stingy. He straightened up. Teacher Guo, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but stock trading moves fast. You have to buy and sell constantly. If I just give you a few names, you could easily lose money or not get the returns you're hoping for. If you trust me, give me the money. I'll have my relative trade it for you. End of the year, I'll give you back the principal and the profits, and if you need it earlier, you can have the principal plus interest anytime. But how will I know if I'm making money or losing it in the meantime? Every week, my relative reports the account balance to me. I'll pass it along to you. Guo Jing only hesitated for a second. Okay. I'll transfer you 100,000 tomorrow. Do you have a bank account? Huan quickly sent his account details to Guo Jing's phone. Li Lan was stunned. Her mother trusted Huan that much. She wasn't worried he'd just take the money and disappear. An hour and a half later, Li Jun's 3-4 bags were finally done. The nurse came over to remove the needle. You can take him home now. But my dad still hasn't woken up. How many times did he throw up? 3 times. He's probably just exhausted and fell asleep. You can wake him up. Or you can pay to admit him and let him sleep in the inpatient ward. Guo Jing didn't want to waste another cent. Lan, wake your dad up. Li Lan shook Li Jun's body and called out loudly, Dad, wake up, time to go home. Li Jun finally opened his bleary eyes. He looked around, disoriented. How did I end up in the hospital? Guo Jing didn't hold back. If you can't handle your liquor, why drink so much? If Huan hadn't been with you, you could have drunk yourself to death and no one would have even known. Li Jun knew he'd caused trouble for all 3 of them. He didn't argue. Especially seeing his wife and daughter both there, it actually moved him a little. He pulled out his phone. 11:30 at night, no missed calls, no texts. A wave of defeat hit him, just like Huan had said. Zhu Minute didn't have any real feelings for him. It was all about the money. A performance. Guo Jing caught him checking his phone the moment he woke up, and her anger flared. She called out, Lan, let's go home. Li Lan said quietly, Mom, why don't we let Dad come back with us? Does he even want to? First thing he does when he opens his eyes is check that Fox's messages. I won't even get into that. But you're his own daughter. You stayed with him in the hospital until midnight. Did he say one word to you when he woke up? Lee Jun's face burned with shame. I wasn't looking at Zhu Min's messages. I was checking if someone from work needed me. He turned to Li Lan. Lan, thank you and your mom for staying with me at the hospital. And he Huan too. He brought you here and called mom. Li Jun nodded at He Huan. Little brother, thank you for today. He Huan said, no problem. It was the least I could do. A beat of silence passed. Li Jun said to Li Lan, Lan, can you and your classmate step outside for a minute? I need to talk to your mom alone. Li Lan knew this was it, the final showdown. Her nose stung, and tears nearly spilled. Li Jun's heart ached seeing her face. He softened his voice. We're just going to have a simple talk. It's not what you're thinking. Don't worry. Li Lan nodded and walked out of the emergency room with He Huan inside the ER. Besides Li Jun and Guo Jing, several other patients lay in beds scattered around, but they were far enough away, and no one was paying this couple any attention. Guo Jing's voice was flat. You read the letter. What's your plan? I'm fine with it. Until Lanlan's college entrance exam is over, I'll come home on time every day and play the part of a father. After the exam, if you still want the divorce, you get custody of Lanlan, and we split all the property evenly, through negotiation. If you take a little more and I take a little less, that's fine by me. Guo Jing was caught off guard. Just days ago at the Civil Affairs Bureau, Li Jun had been dead set on not giving her a single cent. That's why in her letter, she'd said as long as he agreed to divorce after Lanlan's exam, she wouldn't take a penny. What was going on now? Had he drunk so much he still wasn't sober? If you split the property with me 50-50, is your little girlfriend going to be okay with that? Li Jun's face hardened. It's my money. I decide how it's divided. She doesn't get a say. Fine. I have no problem with that, as long as you don't back out. Anything else? Tomorrow's the Mid-Autumn Festival. I want to take Lanlan and you back to my hometown for a visit. Guo Jing frowned. I thought your family already met your little girlfriend. Why not bring her instead? Li Jun let out a long sigh, his whole demeanor sagging. Guo Jing figured he'd already made such a huge concession. Fine, but I don't want to see that fox tomorrow. Li Jun looked relieved. Of course, absolutely. Anything else? Li Jun looked at Guo Jing, his mouth opened a few times, but the words he really wanted to say wouldn't come. Finally, he let out another long sigh. No, that's it. On the other side, He Huan and Li Lan were wandering aimlessly down the hospital hallway. He Huan really wanted to just say goodnight and head home, but he figured he'd already stuck around this long. Another few minutes wouldn't kill him. He Huan. He glanced at her. Yeah? Did I do something to make you mad? Li Lan kept her eyes on the floor ahead, a few strands of hair drifting in the breeze from an open window. He Huan felt a sudden flutter in his chest. He took a quiet breath and kept his voice flat. No, then why are you always so cold to me? I already told you. I get nervous around pretty girls. Li Lan knew he was just talking nonsense, but it still made her a little happy, since he'd called her pretty. She sat down on a nearby bench and scooted over, making space for him. He Huan hesitated for a second, then sat beside her. Late at night, the hospital was quiet except for the occasional murmur drifting out of the emergency room. Just as He Huan was casting around for something to say, Li Lan spoke up. He Huan, why do two people who don't love each other even get married? When they get married, they usually do love each other, but love can't always hold up against all the daily grind and frustration, so they slowly start to resent each other. If they're already husband and wife, Why can't they just try to understand each other more? Everyone sees things from their own side and weighs what they stand to gain or lose, but if you haven't walked in someone else's shoes, it's hard to really get it. So if marriage just leads to suffering and unhappiness, what's the point of getting married at all? Huan was no relationship expert, and questions like these gave him a headache. Finally, he just answered from his own understanding. Buddhism talks about 7 kinds of suffering: birth, aging, sickness, death, losing what you love, facing what you hate, and not getting what you want. Happiness doesn't come easy in life. Even if you never get married, suffering and misfortune will still find you, but there's a good saying. Happiness doesn't belong to the rich or the poor. It belongs to those who are content. Life is long, being content brings peace. Li Lan looked at him, surprised. Since when did you get so smooth with words? That's nothing. I could talk a dead man into walking and a living man into a coma. Huan let out a light laugh. Don't you watch TV? Those talk shows are way more dramatic than anything I just said. Li Jun and Guo Jing walked out of the emergency room and spotted Huan and Li Lan sitting side by side on a bench under the dim yellow lights. Chatting idly, Guo Jing called over, "Huan, Lan, we can head out now." The two of them stood up quickly and walked over. There was a faint smile lingering at the corner of Guo Jing's mouth. She seemed to be in better spirits. "Teacher Guo, I'll just grab a cab home by myself." "No need. We're staying near number 1 high school too. Ride with us, save the fare." Huan couldn't really refuse, so he nodded. It was past midnight, and taxis on the road were scarce as the 4 of them waited at the hospital entrance. Li Jun suddenly spoke. Lan, Dad knows he's let you and your mom down lately. I'll cut ties with you minute from now on and stay by your side." Li Lan was taken aback. "You mean it?" "Yeah. Dad's finally woken up." Li Lan looked over at Guo Jing, who gave a small nod. That was their agreement. Keep up the appearance of a marriage until Li Lan finished the college entrance exam, then go back to their own lives. But what Li Jun said this time sounded sincere. Li Lan felt a sweet warmth spread inside her, and a smile crept onto her face. Guo Jing watched her daughter's happy expression and sighed inwardly. Li Lan had said she supported a divorce, but deep down she clearly still hoped for a reunited family. Li Jun turned to Huan. "Little brother, thanks for today. Next time I get the chance, I'll treat you to a drink and a real conversation." "Forget it. I'm afraid I'll end up in the hospital again. And by the way, I'm pretty sure I'm the one who paid for dinner tonight." Before Huan could answer, Guo Jing said sternly, "Huan is still a student. Why do you keep pushing him to drink? If you want to drink, do it alone. Don't corrupt my student." Li Jun gave an awkward laugh and shut his mouth. A moment later, a taxi finally pulled up. Huan naturally took the front passenger seat, while Li Lan and her parents sat in the back. Once they were all settled, Li Jun said to Huan, "By the way, little brother, you're my daughter's desk mate. Are you good at your studies too? What's your class rank?" Most struggling students would be embarrassed to answer, but Huan said shamelessly, "My rank is very stable, and there's plenty of room for improvement." Li Lan couldn't help laughing. "You're really good at blowing your own horn." Huan felt like Li Lan was acting strange today. Where was that usual pride? Right now she just seemed like a girl with a crush. He shrugged. "I'm not wrong, am I, Teacher Guo?" Guo Jing was also impressed by his thick skin. "You're not wrong. A stable last place definitely leaves a lot of room for improvement." Li Jun let out a hearty laugh. "Little brother, you're a funny one. But honestly, with your insight and way with words, even if your grades are a mess, you'll go far and make a lot of money." Guo Jing and Li Lan hadn't expected Li Jun to praise Huan that highly, but thinking about it, Huan really did handle himself well. A few minutes later, the taxi stopped in front of Huan's neighborhood. He got out and said to Guo Jing, Teacher Guo, I'll head in now. Okay, thanks again for today, take care. Huan nodded and turned to leave. Guojing looked away and caught Li Lan staring out the window, completely absorbed, her gaze trailing after Huan's retreating figure. Her heart skipped a beat. This girl, is she developing a crush? Huan got home and was surprised to find the lights still on. A moment later, Liu Mai and He Chen stepped out of their rooms. You two are still up. Liu Mai said, I couldn't sleep until you got back. A pang of guilt hit Huan. Teacher Guo's husband got drunk tonight. I had to take him to the hospital. He Chen's curiosity flickered. How'd you end up alone with your teacher's husband? Huan gave them the short version. Guo Jing had asked him to deliver a letter. Then he added, by the way, did that woman from across the street come by today asking questions? No. If she ever asks you anything, just say you don't know. Liu Mai nodded. Rich people's love lives are such a mess. Huan, don't you ever pull that two-faced act your teacher's husband did. I won't. Mom, you and Chanshan need sleep. Shower and get some rest too. We're heading to Grandma's tomorrow. The next day, a small rural town in Dazi County, Huan and his family stood outside a small supermarket, loaded down with bags and packages. He Chen pouted. Mom, why'd you buy so much? It's heavy. It's just some mooncakes, fruit, and meat. Besides, your second uncle is picking us up any minute. We've been waiting almost half an hour. No sign of him. If we were going to Grandpa and Grandma's, it'd be closer, and we could show up empty-handed, and when we leave, they always send us off with chicken and fish. Huan cleared his throat. Alright, that's enough. When you get married someday, you'll bring gifts to me too. Basic courtesy. He Chen's face went red. I'm not getting married. Liu Mai chuckled. Not getting married? That won't fly. I don't have the money to support you. I don't need you to. So your brother takes over. Same thing. He Chen set her jaw. I'll have my own job. I'll make my own money. Just then, a brand new white Wuling minivan pulled up. The window rolled down, revealing a man in his 30s. Big sis. Get in. Liu Mai stared. Lei, this your new car? Yeah, just picked it up yesterday. Pretty sharp, right? He owes me 20,000 yuan and hasn't paid a cent in over 10 years, and now he's buying a new car. Liu Mai felt a knot tighten in her stomach, but she kept the smile on her face. It's nice, real nice. Liu Lei got out and took the big bag from Liu Mai's hands. She thought he was going to load it into the van. Instead, he opened it, peered inside, and blurted, Sis, why'd you buy this crap mooncake? It's the cheapest there is. Let me take you to a real shop. Even Liu Mai's patience had a limit. She snapped. What are you, 5? I have to buy you whatever mooncake you feel like eating. Liu Lei looked embarrassed. I didn't bring money today. He Chen rolled her eyes. Got money for a car but not mooncakes. Yeah, right. Liu Lei's face darkened. Fine, too cheap to spend a few extra bucks. Forget it, get in. He didn't help with a single bag, just got back into the driver's seat by himself. Huan was seething. If it weren't for his mother, he would have grabbed He Chen and gone straight home. They loaded the bags themselves and climbed in. He Chen shoved the sliding door shut, harder than she meant to, maybe. Liu Lei started yelling immediately. Hey, take it easy, you know how much this car cost. Huan's anger boiled over. So it's expensive, half of it is ours anyway. What's that supposed to mean, half yours? Mom lent you 20,000 over 10 years ago with interest. That covers half this car. Liu Lei couldn't win that argument, so he turned to Liu Mai. Sis, Look at your son. That's no way to talk to family. Liu Mai was annoyed too. His attitude's off, but he's not wrong. When are you paying back that 20,000? I just bought a car. How do you expect me to pay right now? It's just 20 grand. You think I'm gonna run off? If you don't have 20, give me 3 or 5. Truth is, Huan can barely scrape together a few hundred for school right now. Give me a few days. Once I've got it, I'll pay. I swear. A few days meant never. Liu Mai sighed to herself. Huan had been right all along, and my second brother won't even pay a few hundred, never mind the rest. Forget bringing him into the stocks. 15 minutes later, the minivan wound through the village and stopped in Liu family village. Huan's family carried their gifts into a mud brick house. An old woman with graying hair shuffled toward them. Liu Mai hurried to her side. Mom, Liu Ben mentioned your arthritis flared up again. The old woman looked miserable. What can I do? You get old, the body gives out. Pain here, pain there. No one cares that I can't afford a doctor. Another year or two and I'll be in the ground next to your father. Liu Mai felt a pang of discomfort. But Lei and Liu Ben are right here. How can you say no one's taking care of you? They've got jobs, families to support. When do they have time to stay home? What about Shofen and Sumei? They've got their own children to care for. That's not right. Everyone's got jobs and kids, sure, but the elderly need care too. I'll talk to them. Huan let out a quiet laugh from behind them. Mom, a married daughter is spilled water. Don't meddle in the Liu family's business. What do you mean, I can't meddle? Huan leaned close to Liu Mai's ear and whispered. Grandma's hinting she wants you to take care of her. If you're not seeing that, what's the point of talking to anyone? Liu Mai froze. She replayed her mother's words. It clicked. She was supposed to be the one to step up. What a joke. Her mother still had 2 living sons. This should never fall on a daughter. Besides, every advantage the Liu family ever handed out went straight to those 2 sons. Liu Mai still had 2 kids to put through school. She didn't have the time or the energy to take on elder care. Once that sank in, Liu Mai's tone shifted. Mom, you need to sort out your care with Lei and Liu Ben. I'm a married daughter. I really shouldn't be stepping into this. As soon as old lady Liu heard that, she got worked up. Interfering? You're my daughter. How is that interfering? Right, I'm the daughter. The old house in Liujia village, the land, none of that ever goes to a daughter, but when it's time to be taken care of, suddenly it's my job. Your 2 younger brothers don't make enough money. Who else am I supposed to count on if not you? Liu Mai nearly laughed out of sheer frustration. They can't make money. So you think I can? I barely pull in 2,000 a month, and I've still got Huan and Qian to raise. What exactly am I supposed to support you with? Liu Ben said you bought a new computer. That's at least 4,000 or 5,000. If you didn't have money, how could you buy a computer? I had exactly 4,000 or 5,000, and I spent every bit of it on that computer. Right now, I've got nothing. Sis, that's a load of crap. Liu Lei walked in from outside. You've got money for a computer, but you're broke? Fine. Do you have money? I bought this car, so of course I'm broke. Then if you could afford a car, how are you broke? Liu Lei shot back. Oh, come on. I bought the car to haul passengers and earn a living. What did you buy the computer for? That question actually caught Liu Mai off guard. She couldn't exactly say she bought it so Huan could play games. My mom bought it to motivate me to study. Huan stepped up beside Liu Mai, grinning. My grades aren't great, and I've got a real gaming problem. To keep me out of internet cafes. She got me a computer. I promised her I'd quit going and guarantee I get into a top university. The Liu family all knew about Huan's gaming addiction, so the story landed well enough. Huan kept going. Grandma, you've got a nice healthy glow and a strong build. You could probably still haul a manure bucket. Why are you suddenly talking about needing care? You don't think that'll just burden my uncles? Your mother, no, that won't fly. Huan cut old lady Liu off. Why don't we ask around the whole village? Who's ever heard of a mother moving in with a daughter when the sons are still around? Wouldn't that be a slap in the face to my two uncles? People would call them unfilial. His words made old lady Liu's face flush and pale by turns. Just then, Liu Ben came out of the house and jumped in. Mom, what are you going on about? Second brother and I are still alive. There's no way it's Sis's turn to take care of you. Sis, you came all this way. Come inside and rest a while. Liu Mai was genuinely surprised. She hadn't expected her most unreliable youngest brother to speak up for her. It was Mid-Autumn Festival, so all the kids were out of school. Liu Mai's family only had 3 siblings, but with Huan's generation added in, over a dozen people were gathered. Liu Mai handed out the fruit and mooncakes she'd bought at the supermarket to the younger kids, then headed to the kitchen to help her sisters-in-law with the cooking. Huan and Chen had never been close to the Liu side, so they pulled out their MP3 player and phone and busied themselves. When Liu Ben saw Huan's Nokia phone, his expression shifted. Huan, is that phone yours? Yeah, bought it used. But that's an N73. Even second-hand, that can't be cheap, right? Huan eyed him with suspicion. Little uncle, what are you driving at? Liu Ben sat down next to Huan and lowered his voice. Huan, level with your uncle. Did your family come into some money lately? No. My mom's the only one earning, and that salary's tiny. Where would money come from? Come on, you guys bought a new computer. You're using a Nokia N73. And Chanchan's got a BBK MP3 player. None of that is cheap. Huan was about to spin a story when a 10-year-old boy ran up to Liu Ben, crying, Dad, Chen stole my. Liu Ben was clearly annoyed at being interrupted. What Chen? That's your cousin. Where are your manners? Now even more upset, the little cousin said, Cousin Chen stole my MP3 player. If he hadn't said that, it might have blown over, but now Liu Ben's expression soured even more. That MP3 had originally been lifted from Huan's drawer. Getting called out in public like this was humiliating. He told Huan, let me go see what's going on. Worried Chen might be in trouble, Huan followed. They walked into a room and found Chen holding a pink MP3 player, her face burning with anger. The moment she saw Huan, she blurted, Bro, look. Liu Ji ripped the earphones off my MP3. Liu Ji shouted right back, That's my MP3, you stole it from my house. Bullshit, I brought this from home. Huan gave a thin smile. Little uncle, what a coincidence. My cousin also has a BBK MP3, in pink. Liu Ben felt awkward inside but kept a straight face. One of the MP3s at my shop broke, so I bought this cheap one for Xiaoji. I had no idea Chanchan would have the exact same model. In a situation like this, with the other side flat out denying it, there wasn't much Huan could do. He said to his cousin, Chanchan brought this from home, she never even went into your room. How could she have stolen your MP3? Liu Ben gave Liu Ji a kick in the backside. You moron, your MP3 must be in your own room. You didn't even check before throwing accusations around. If you go around accusing people like that again, I'll really give it to you. Feeling wronged, Liu Ji bolted off to see if his MP3 was actually back at his house. Liu Ben then said to Chanchan, is this that MP3 you lost? Without thinking much, Chen answered, No, My brother bought this one for me as a spare. A knowing look spread across Liu Ben's face. He slung an arm over Huan's shoulder and beamed. Huan, you're way too tight-lipped. Just tell me, where are you making your money? Don't hold out on your uncle. Huan had to hand it to his youngest uncle so sharp. A few words, and he'd already pieced together that the family's circumstances had changed. Little uncle, I'm a high school senior. What money could I possibly be making? Still trying to fool me. A BBK MP3 like that runs over 400.2 of them puts you close to 1,000. Toss in your N73 and the computer at home, the whole package is easily over 10 grand. They're all second-hand, nothing that valuable. Just tell your uncle. I'm not some outsider. Little uncle, I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. Seeing he couldn't squeeze anything out of Huan, Liu Ben felt frustrated but had no choice but to drop it. By noon, all the dishes were on the table. 15 plates, but nothing heavy, just home-style cooking, stir-fried pork with peppers, celery with dried tofu. The closest thing to a centerpiece was a pot of corn and pork rib soup. The Liu family took their seats. There were too many people for all the younger ones to fit at the table. Chen had never liked the Liu family anyway, so she had no intention of joining them. She grabbed a bowl and walked over to Huan, about to take a chicken leg and eat. Off to the side, but Grandma snatched it from her hand. Here, my good grandson, this chicken leg is for you. Liu Ji pouted, I don't like chicken legs. Grandma shoved it into his bowl anyway and scolded, if I give you something, you eat it. Otherwise it's just wasted. Liu Mai watched the whole thing, a sharp sting of resentment hitting her. She scooped up some chicken meat and said, Qian, if you don't want the chicken leg, have some of this. Qian sniffed, it's just chicken, nothing special. I don't want any. She picked up some greens and went to eat on the side. Huan wasn't fond of this family either. He was about to do the same, grab a dish and eat somewhere else, when Liu Ben blocked his path. Huan, you're the oldest of the younger generation. Let the little ones eat on the side, you sit at the table. Huan had no choice but to sit down next to Liu Mai. Liu Ben pulled out a bottle of cheap liquor. Huan, want a drink? Liu Mai cut him off before he could answer. Huan's still a student. Why are you offering him alcohol? Drink it yourself if you want. Liu Ben shrugged and poured a glass for himself and one for Liu Lei. Liu Lei was in high spirits that day. He'd just taken delivery of his new minivan the day before, and it felt like he was finally getting somewhere in life. He spent the whole meal bragging, claimed he knew some big boss who was going to hire him, and that he'd earn back the van's cost in a single year. Third aunt-in-law's eyes gleamed with envy. Benzi, what do you think? Should we get a minivan too? Where would we get the money? Third aunt-in-law glanced around. Second brother didn't have any money either, and he still got one. We can borrow too, right? It'll pay for itself in a year. Liu Ben's eyes lit up, and he immediately looked at Liu Mai. Liu Mai knew exactly what her third brother was thinking. Before he could even open his mouth, she said, Don't look at me. I don't have a cent to my name. Besides, you've owed me 10,000 for over a decade and never paid it back. Third aunt-in-law's face soured. Big sister, I'm not one to criticize, but my Benzi hadn't even opened his mouth and you already shut him down. Are you that afraid of us getting ahead? You bring up that 10,000 every single year, like we'd ever forget we owe it. Liu Mai's anger flared. When they asked for the money, they'd been all smiles and gratitude. Now that she wanted it back, they acted like she was the unreasonable one. How was that fair? Chen couldn't hold back. A debt is a debt. That money was compensation for my dad's life. What gives you the right to keep it? Grandma slammed her hand on the table. Did you come back today just to collect debts? Those two are my sons. Whatever they owe, it's on me. I raised you for decades. Isn't that worth more than 30,000? The room went dead silent. Even the kids barely dared to breathe. Liu Mai's heart ached. How could a mother be so biased, just because she was a daughter? Liu Lei took a sip of his drink. Sis, I'm not telling you what to do, but when Benzi and I borrowed from you, we never said we wouldn't pay it back. We're family. Why treat us like strangers? If you make Mom so mad she gets sick, what then? As if on cue, Grandma clutched her chest. Oh, my heart hurts. I'm afraid I'm going to have a heart attack. Liu Mai knew she was faking it, but the act still cut deep. She had come today hoping Huan could help her brothers make a little money in the stock market. Instead, she found them all heartless and greedy, draining her dry and not even bothering to spit out the bones. She slammed her chopsticks down. Huan, Chen, we're going home. Huan felt a rush of relief. He hoped this would finally make his mother cut ties with her birth family for good. The three of them stood up, but Grandma slammed the table again. Liu Mai, who are you making that face at? I'm not making a face. We've eaten. Why would we stay here? Liu Ben hurried over and blocked her path. Sis, it's the Mid-Autumn Festival. Don't be angry. Let's talk it out. We're family. Why fight? When has this family ever treated me like family? My daughter wanted a chicken leg, and you snatched it away to give to someone else. What? My little girl isn't good enough for a chicken leg, and that 30,000 I lent you and second brother when you borrowed it. You promised to pay it back as soon as you had the money. I struggled to raise my two kids alone, and I knew you were tight, so I hardly ever asked. Now 12 years have passed, and I'm the bad guy for bringing it up. Do you even know where that money came from? It was my husband's life compensation. How can you bear to keep it? Tears welled in Liu Mai's eyes. Liu Ben said, Sis, I never said I wouldn't pay you back. It's just that money's tight right now. The minute I have it, you'll be the first one I pay. Liu Mai had heard that line 1,000 times. Her voice went cold. 10,000, 20,000, fine. But you can't even come up with 3,000 or 5,000. Liu Ben's expression flickered. He glanced at his wife. Third aunt-in-law glared at him. What are you staring at me for? You know good and well whether we have money or not. Besides, second brother borrowed 20,000 if he's not in a hurry. Why are you? Second aunt-in-law's hackles went up. We just bought a minivan. Where would we get money now? Lazy is right here. Go ahead and sell his kidney. Grandma finally erupted. She pointed at Liu Mai and screamed, Get out, you are not welcome in this house. Tears streamed down Liu Mai's face. She turned to Huan and Chen. Let's go. From this moment on, you are no daughter of mine. Don't ever set foot in this house again. Huan paused at the door. He turned back to Grandma and said, Remember what you said today. Don't you dare come crawling to our door later. After Huan's family left, a heavy silence settled over the house. The old lady was still cursing up a storm, calling her an ungrateful wretch and an unfilial daughter. Every nasty word she could think of just kept pouring out. Liu Ben felt sick of it. He raised his voice. Mom, that's enough. Let's be fair. Big sis has been decent to us. Decent? Her? You forgot she just came after you for money. Well, I do owe her, don't I? Then go pay her back right now. Liu Ben had some street smarts, but he only ever used them for crooked schemes. For years he'd scraped by on trickery and scams. When it came to actually paying someone back, he couldn't come up with a single cent, but he still held on to a trace of family loyalty, a sliver of conscience. Watching his mother drive his oldest sister away bothered him. Even teeth bite your tongue sometimes. Families fight, but you can't just say she's not your daughter anymore. That's way too harsh. I'll say what I want. The old lady was still worked up, her voice rising. A perfectly good Mid-Autumn Festival, and she has to come squeezing you two for money. Isn't that an ungrateful wretch? Liu Ben realized he couldn't talk to her anymore. He turned to Liu Lei. Second brother, I'm going to see big sis off. The mountain road's rough. It'll take them nearly an hour to walk into town. Liu Lei couldn't wait to cut ties with Liu Mai for good. That way he'd have a legitimate excuse to never pay back that 20,000. She wanted to leave. Go if you want. I'm not going. Liu Ben stood up and headed for the door. The old lady yelled after him. You don't even have a car. What are you going for? I'll walk her out. You're an unfilial son, too. Liu Mai ran into several acquaintances in the village. They all asked why she was leaving right at mealtime. She forced a calm smile and said she had some things to handle at home. She held it together until she reached the edge of the village, where no one else could see. Then the act fell away, and the tears finally came. Huan stood beside her and spoke quietly. Mom, the world is a big place. Not everyone has a grateful heart. Our family has money now. We don't need to suck up to anyone. Whoever treats us well, we'll treat them well back. This place, we never have to come here again. That's right, Mom. Better we see their true colors now and cut ties early from now on. We just live our own lives. Liu Mai wiped her tears with her sleeve. I'm fine. Come on. Let's go to town and get a big meal. Huan smiled. Exactly, they couldn't even spare a chicken leg. Ridiculous. When we get to town, we'll order everything: chicken, duck, fish, meat, the three of us together. That's a real reunion. Qian curled her lip. A chicken leg, please. At school, my brother buys me those all the time, like I'd be craving one off them. They're so dumb. For the first time, a smile broke through Liu Mai's expression. Huan, thank goodness you know how to make money, otherwise, I would have been miserable my whole life. A swell of emotion rose in Huan's chest. This was exactly what getting a second chance was supposed to feel like. They'd only walked a few steps when a horn honked behind them. All three turned. Liu Ben was riding up on his motorcycle. Benzi, what are you doing out here? Big sis, I'll take you to town, otherwise, you three will be walking almost an hour. Warmth filled Liu Mai's chest. Her third brother was lazy and full of pipe dreams, but out of everyone in the Liu family, he was the only one who still cared. No need. Go back and eat. The three of us will walk slowly. Why do that? I'm already here. But you've only got one motorcycle. We can't all fit. I'll make 2 trips. Take Huan and Qian into town first, then come back for you. The three exchanged a look. They'd already decided to cut ties with the Lius, and now this. Huan spoke up. Mom, since little uncle is being so nice, let's take his motorcycle into town. With Huan backing the idea, Liu Mai relaxed. She smiled. Benzi, sorry to put you to work. Nothing to be sorry about. That's what family does. Huan, Qian, hop on. I'll come back for your mom. Qian normally didn't like this uncle, but right now, she felt herself warming to him a little. She climbed onto the motorcycle. Thanks, little uncle. Liu Ben laughed, genuinely happy. Family. No need for thanks. Huan climbed on behind her. Liu Ben sped off and reached town in less than 10 minutes. Huan, I'll drop you at the bus station up ahead, okay? Little uncle, is there a good restaurant in town? Liu Ben remembered they hadn't really eaten. Yeah, there is. I'll take you there now. The motorcycle pulled up at a place called Old Town Flavors. Liu Ben got off first and walked toward the entrance. Huan climbed off the bike, confused. Little uncle, what are you doing? The owner's a friend of mine. I'll order some dishes for you. Huan nearly laughed. You, friends with a restaurant owner, don't kid yourself. No need. Go pick up my mom. I'll order. Alright, but order some good stuff. This meal's on me. Huan took that with a grain of salt. The guy didn't have a penny to his name. 20 minutes later, the buzz of Liu Ben's motorcycle sounded again outside Old Town Flavors. As he locked the bike, he said, "Big sis, don't worry about that 10,000. One day I'm gonna hit it big, and I'll pay you back every cent plus interest." Liu Mai's mood had lifted noticeably. She laughed. "You hit it big? I'd have better luck buying a lottery ticket for 10 grand. He Qian was already waiting at the restaurant door. When she spotted Liu Mai and Liu Ben, she called out happily, "Mom, come on in, the food's already coming out." Liu Ben puffed out his chest, putting on a show. "Qian, what did your brother order? Anything good?" "Just some home-style dishes," she said, opening the door to the private room. Liu Ben followed her inside. The table held 5 dishes and a soup. Huan sat by the door, scrolling on his phone. Liu Ben raised his voice. Huan, didn't I say this meal's on me? Why'd you only order some home-style stuff?" Then his eyes settled on the table. Pork belly and lotus seed soup, farmhouse braised chicken. Twice cooked beef, steamed fish head with chopped chili, braised softshell turtle. Plus a plate of water spinach. Holy crap! These are your home-style dishes? What kind of family sits down to a meal that costs $300 or $400? Do you even look at the menu prices before ordering? Little uncle, is that not enough? Want me to add 2 more? Liu Ben flinched. No, that's plenty. There's only 4 of us. We'll never finish all that. Liu Mai could tell these dishes weren't cheap, but compared to yesterday's Nikes, tonight was practically frugal. She gestured for Liu Ben to sit. "Benzi, today's meal is on me. Just eat and drink your fill." Liu Ben's instinct was all about saving face. "No way. I said I'm treating, so I'm treating. I might be broke, but I've still got enough to cover a meal." He talked big, but inside, panic was setting in. He had a little over $100 on him. What the hell was he going to do now? Huan said, "Uncle, you still have to ride your motorcycle home. Let's skip the drinks. Come on, a table full of good food like this, it'd be a crime not to drink. Don't worry, there aren't many traffic cops out in the countryside. I can ride that thing anywhere. I'm not worried about the cops. It's about the rule. If you drink, don't drive. If something happens, it's too late for regrets." Liu Mai jumped in. Huan's right. It's your own life. Don't gamble with it. Cornered by his sister's whole family, Liu Ben had no choice but to back down. In his past life, Huan had gotten sick of rich, greasy meat dishes, but in this life, years of malnutrition and the grind of high school made him tear through the food like a whirlwind. Qian was no different. She grabbed a turtle shell and started sucking on it without a trace of ladylike manners. Liu Mai and Liu Ben chatted while they ate. Actually, it was more like Liu Ben bragged and Liu Mai listened. "Big sis, you know who Han Chi is?" "How would I know?" "You seriously don't know Han Chi? He's one of the richest men in Daohua town right now." Huan looked up, surprised. "Han Chi's from Daohua town?" "Yeah, from the village right next to ours." Liu Ben looked just as surprised. "You've heard of Han Chi?" Liu Ben loved to show off. Huan preferred to keep a low profile. He said casually, "His son goes to our #1 high school too. That's why I've heard the name." Liu Ben didn't think twice about it. In his mind, how could a high school kid like Huan possibly know a big shot like Han Chi? He went on, "Han Chi just got a piece of land on the east side of town for a real estate project. A buddy of mine knows him and works on that crew. I've made up my mind. After the holiday, I'm going to go work for that buddy. Easy 6,000 or 7,000 a month." Liu Mai frowned. "Didn't you just get a job? Why are you switching again? Bouncing around like this, how are you ever going to save any money?" "Big sis, you don't get it. Those old jobs were just to get by, now opportunities knocking that I gotta grab it, right, Huan? Huan didn't sugarcoat it, focus on one thing first, get stable, otherwise, when a real opportunity shows up, you won't be able to hold on to it. Liu Ben scoffed, you're just a kid, what do you know? Huan shot back, then tell me, when you go work with your buddy, what can you actually do? Manual labor, tie rebar, budgeting? Liu Ben was stumped. After a long silence. He muttered, with connections, there's always something to do. Connections like that aren't worth much, why would the boss pay a guy who's just dead weight? Liu Ben shut his mouth and buried his face in his rice. Liu Mai suddenly asked, Bowsy, where did you say Boss Han's project is? East side of town. Liu Mai looked at Huan. The real estate project you invested in yesterday, wasn't that? Huan coughed loudly. Liu Mai caught herself and clamped her mouth shut, quietly going back to her food. Liu Ben looked bewildered. Big sis, what did you just say? What real estate investment? Nothing, just talking nonsense. Liu Ben's face was full of suspicion. He'd definitely heard Big Sis say something about investing in real estate, but Huan was just a high schooler. How could he be investing in property? The meal was winding down, and plenty of food still sat on the table. Liu Ben suddenly stood up. You all keep eating. I'm gonna run to the restroom. He walked out of the room and headed straight for the register. Xiao Chen, where's your boss? The cashier, a young woman named Xiao Chen, rolled her eyes. What, trying to put it on your tab again? Boss Yang said nobody gets a tab. Young lady, you don't know how things work. Old Yang and I go way back. You think I'd stiff him? I don't care about that. Boss Yang said no tabs for anyone. Liu Ben was starting to sweat when a familiar voice came from behind him. Uncle, I'll pay. Liu Ben turned around and saw Huan awkwardly. He said, what a coincidence. I didn't bring enough cash today, and Boss Yang isn't around. You're so unreliable. You ruined me in my past life, and even in this life, I still can't shake you. Huan asked the cashier, how much is it total? 358. I'll round it down to 350. Liu Ben cut in. My nephew's a top student at number 1 high school, first time eating here. Can't you knock off a little more? Xiao Chen gave Huan a strange look. Why was a high school kid paying for a whole group? Lowest I can go is 340. Not a cent less. Huan took 400 out of his wallet. And 2 takeout boxes, please. Xiao Chen took the money, grinning. Your nephew's way more straightforward than you, not like you, trying to run a tab every single time. Huan hadn't wanted to clean up his uncle's mess, but then he remembered how his uncle was the only one who'd spoken up for his mom earlier, and who later drove the whole family into town. His heart softened. He said to Xiao Chen, how much does my uncle owe in total anyway? Let me check. Xiao Chen opened a ledger. 670. Huan pulled out another 700. Clear my uncle's tab. Xiao Chen couldn't believe her ears. She stared at Huan in shock, but Liu Ben looked even more stunned. He knew exactly what kind of household his big sister's family ran, barely scraping by, always worried about the next meal. When did they get so generous? He stepped in front of Huan and lowered his voice. Huan, be straight with me. Did your family come into some money? Some money, just a little. I knew it. I knew your family was living the good life now. Liu Ben's eyes lit up with excitement. Huan, can you help your uncle make a little money on the side too? Let's talk about that later. First, let me settle the bill. Xiao Chen took the cash from Huan and added, by the way, there's another guy named Liu Lei, should be your uncle too, right? Want to clear his tab while you're at it? The moment Huan heard Liu Lei's name, anger flared up inside him. Liu Ben was unreliable and a little sticker-fingered, but at least his heart was in the right place. Liu Lei, on the other hand, had zero sense of family. His heart was black. Huan's voice turned cold. If he's got money to buy a car, he's got money to pay his own bill. Go find him. Xiao Chen was a little confused. Liu Ben and Liu Lei were both his uncles, but his attitude toward the two of them couldn't have been more different. Liu Ben and Huan returned to the private room carrying a takeout box. Liu Mai took the box from Huan and started packing up the leftovers. The roast chicken and beef are barely touched, she said. Ben, take them home for your kids to try. Liu Ben couldn't care less about leftovers. He closed the door and asked Liu Mai, "Big sister, what kind of fortune did your family come into?" Liu Mai paused and glanced uneasily at Huan. Huan chuckled. "Uncle, to be honest, we do have a little money now. Mom came back today hoping to help everyone earn some, but you saw the Liu family's reaction. Grandma said she'd cut ties with Mom, and the rest were ice cold. If being kind doesn't get repaid, why should Mom bother being the good person?" Liu Ben felt conflicted. "Your grandma has always been like that. She hasn't changed in all these years." Huan cut him off. "I don't care about Grandma's temper or the rest of the Liu family's attitude. I only care about one thing. Whoever treats my mom well, I treat well. Whoever treats her badly, I won't be nice either. I can help you make a little money, but I have two conditions." Liu Ben's heart jumped. "What conditions?" "First, work steadily and pay back my mom the 10,000 yuan. But Huan saw his uncle hesitate and felt speechless. "You probably make about 2,000 a month. Save for half a year and you'll have 10,000. But there are other family expenses. Isn't Aunt working too? She farms and does odd jobs. If you tighten your belt a little, you should be fine." Liu Mai chimed in. "Ben, you're an ordinary guy. Stop dreaming about connections and quick riches. It's not realistic. First, get your feet on the ground, save some money, then whatever you do, you'll have confidence." Liu Ben made a pained face. "Big sister, I can't wait half a year. How about this? I pay you back 5,000 now, and let Huan help me make money." "No," Huan said firmly, "you have to save 10,000 in half a year, or I won't help you." "Why not?" Huan sighed. "Uncle, you're not a bad person, but you're way too flashy. You look down on small tasks and can't handle big ones. You always think the grass is greener somewhere else, and you end up achieving nothing. Settle down, do your current job well. Later, I'll definitely help you make a decent sum." Liu Ben had no choice but to agree. "What's the second condition?" "Second, you don't tell anyone in the Liu family about our conversation today, or anything about my family's situation in the future, not even Aunt." Liu Ben hesitated. "But there's still," Huan's face turned cold. "You heard how they insulted my mom today. They were the ones who showed no mercy, so don't blame me for cutting ties. I don't want anything more to do with the Liu family." Liu Ben deflated like a punctured balloon. If he hadn't insisted on driving them today, they'd probably have cut him off too. "Fine, I agree, but what business are you actually in?" Just then, his phone rang. Huan glanced at the screen and answered. "Teacher Guo." "Huan, I've transferred the 100,000 to your account. Check the bank when you have time." "Oh, okay. Since it's Mid-Autumn Festival, the stock market is closed, so I'll buy the stocks tomorrow." "That's fine. I've given you the money. I won't question your methods." After he hung up, Liu Ben said in disbelief, Huan, what does your teacher mean? She's asking you to help her trade stocks." Liu Mai said proudly, "Our family turned things around because of Huan's stock market profits. Even his homeroom teacher wants his help." Liu Ben naturally believed his sister. For a moment, He felt the world was too surreal, a 19-year-old high school student making money from stocks. Big sister, how much did Huan make? Liu Mai didn't know whether to tell the truth, so she looked at Huan. Huan said casually, just a few $100,000. A few $100,000, Liu Ben's mind raced. MYGOD. No wonder Huan used an N73 and Chen had a BBK MP3 player. They really had turned things around. He couldn't contain his excitement. Huan, I don't have big dreams. If I can make a few $100,000, build a 3-story house back home, and buy a little car, my life will be complete. You have to help your uncle achieve his dream. And the 2 conditions I mentioned. No problem, from now on, whatever you say goes. Uncle will listen to everything you say. Huan wasn't convinced. Oh sure, you're obedient now, but the moment I forget to give instructions, you'll screw it up. Reforming his uncle would be a long, hard road. Liu Ben drove Huan and his family to the bus station. Before parting, Liu Mai said to Liu Ben, honestly, I was really moved that you rode your motorcycle to pick us up today, but Huan is right, you're too ambitious and unreliable. First, work hard and save 10,000. Huan will help you make money later. Liu Ben beamed. I know, big sister. I'll save 10,000 in no time. Huan sensed trouble and stressed. I meant save it from your salary. Don't steal, borrow, or take shady shortcuts, or I won't help you. Liu Ben thumped his chest. Don't worry, nephew. I'll do as I say. The more Liu Ben swore, the more uneasy Huan felt. His past life had taught him to be cautious. Liu Mai handed the packed leftovers to Liu Ben. Take this food for your kids. I won't be coming back to the Liu family anymore. If you have time, bring the kids to visit me. Liu Ben felt a pang of sadness. He sighed and said nothing. Suddenly, a big Mercedes pulled up in front of them. Huan was puzzled until he saw Han Chi step out of the driver's seat. Han Bin and a young-looking woman followed from the back seat. Yo, brother what a coincidence. I'm heading back to my hometown for the holiday and ran into you. Huan smiled. What a coincidence. I'm accompanying my mom to her family's place for the festival. Brother Han, this must be my sister-in-law. The woman laughed heartily. I'm already 40, and you're making me feel young. Not at all. If you hadn't come with Brother Han, I'd have thought you were under 30. This young man sure knows how to flatter. I've heard my husband mention you several times lately. Young people really are something else. Liu Ben was bewildered. He whispered to Huan, who's this? Huan thought of his uncle's earlier bragging and felt a mix of amusement and irritation. Just a friend, uncle. If you have nothing else to do, you can head back. Liu Ben, now obedient to Huan, was about to get on his motorcycle when a hand suddenly extended toward him. Are you brother his uncle? I'm his friend Han Chi. Pleasure to meet you. Liu Ben was completely flustered. A big boss like Han Chi actually shook his hand. Liu Ben grabbed Han Chi's hand with both of his whole face lit up. President Han, oh man, it's really you. I'm Liu Ben. I'm your you're my idol. My biggest idol. Han Chi gave a slightly awkward smile. I'm no celebrity. No need for idols. He glanced at Liu Mai and asked, brother is this your mother? Whenever Liu Mai faced someone important, she instinctively shrank a little. She reached out, visibly nervous. Hello. I'm Huan's mother. Han Chi didn't quite get it. Huan was so poised and confident for his age, never fawning, never pushy, so why did his mother seem so unsure of herself? He tucked that thought away and let his expression warm into an easy, spring-like smile. Sister Liu, you've raised one hell of a SONMY wife, and I could honestly take lessons from you. Su Shan stepped forward and shook Liu Mai's hand as well. Absolutely. Our kid is a little terror compared to Huan, it's like night and day. She tugged Han Bin toward them. Come on, say hello. Han Bin didn't dare look down on Liu Mai. This was Huan's mother. If his own parents were treating her with this much respect, she was clearly someone. He dipped his head slightly. Hello, Auntie. Liu Mai looked genuinely flattered. What a polite boy. Where do you go to school? Same school as brother Huan. Number 1 high, but he's in sciences and I'm in arts. He Chen was a bit bolder. She stepped up and greeted Han Chi's family on her own. No prompting, Han Chi's eyes brightened. Brother He, your sister's gorgeous. Why don't you ever bring her around? She's just a regular student. Doesn't know much yet. Better she focuses on her studies. Which school is she at? Huan said it with obvious pride. Also number 1 high, but unlike me, I'm a total slacker. She's a straight A student. All our family's hopes for glory, they rest on her. That made Chen blush. She ducked her head and said, No, my older brother's the impressive one. He knows how to make money. I'm just studying from morning to night. Han Chi sighed. What a family. Point 1 a scholar. 1 a warrior. A real blessing for the household. He paused, then added, So, brother He, you all heading back to the county town? Yeah, we've got evening self-study tonight. Got a ride? If not, why don't you come with us? Liu Mai waved her hands in a hurry. No, we'll take the bus. What for? We're all going the same way. Huan knew his mother would never feel comfortable riding with Han Chi's family. He cut in smoothly. Brother Han, really, it's fine. There are 3 of us. It'd be too cramped. A little crowding's nothing. If it's a problem, I'll just have my son take the bus instead. Han Bin's face went blank. So you're all riding back in the Mercedes while I take the bus? What kind of parents are you? Huan chuckled. Brother Han, I'm not just being polite. My sister gets car sick, and my mom's not used to private cars. She'd be uncomfortable the whole way. You guys go on ahead. Don't worry about us. Next time we're all in Dazi County together, we'll grab a meal. Since Huan put it that way, Han Chi had no choice. After a few more pleasantries, he drove off with his wife and son. Liu Ben still felt like he was in a dream. He turned to Huan, how do you know President Han? Liu Ben hadn't seen much of the world. The subtle meaning behind everything that just happened was completely lost on him. For a man of Han Chi's position, if Huan were just a casual acquaintance, Han Chi probably wouldn't even stop. He'd pretend not to see them and drive right past. If they were closer friends, he might pull over, roll down the window, and toss out a quick greeting. If they were like real brothers, he might step out of the car for a brief chat. But today, he got out with his wife and son just to exchange a few words. That only meant one thing. Han Chi's eyes, Huan standing far exceeded everyone else's. In Liu Ben's mind, he'd always assumed Huan was the one who lucks into a powerful connection. The truth was exactly the opposite. Huan didn't feel like explaining all that. He just said, offhand, we met at a tea house, got to know each other. Why didn't you tell me sooner you knew President Han? I spent the whole lunch bragging like an idiot. Uncle, truly strong people never talk about who they know. Anyone who's always shouting about their connections and their background, trust me, they don't have much. I hope you can drop that habit of showing off. A man who's going to do big things has to stay steady. You get what I'm saying? Normally, it was the elders lecturing the younger ones. This time it was the other way around. Liu Ben felt a small prick of wounded pride, but a moment later, he was happy again. After all, his nephew had just said he was someone who could do big things. Don't worry, Huan, from now on, your uncle listens to whatever you say. Huan wasn't sure if he meant it or not. When he saw the bus heading back to town approaching, he told Liu Ben, Uncle, go on ahead and remember those 2 conditions I mentioned today. No problem, big nephew. Liu Ben swung a leg over his motorcycle before he took off. He remembered something and turned back. Big nephew, once I've saved up 10,000, can you get me onto President Han's construction site? Huan almost laughed. What a tiny ambition after all that, you're still dreaming about hauling bricks. You really think you need connections for that? That depends on your performance. Liu Ben grinned, revved the engine, and sped off in a cloud of dust. Since it was the Mid-Autumn Festival, the buses were packed with people heading home. Huan and his family squeezed aboard. Seats were completely out of the question. There was barely room to stand. Worse, the jamdar was full of passengers hauling massive sacks and bundles. Even from a burlap fertilizer sack came the clucking of chickens and ducks. The whole bus reeked. Chen pinched her nose and whispered, "Brother, I really wish we'd taken your friend's Mercedes." Huan grimaced. If I'd known it was going to be like this, no way I would have said no. Liu Mai wasn't pleased. That car's way too expensive. How could we have the nerve to hitch a ride? I think the bus is just fine. We don't owe anyone any favors. Huan knew his mom was still too timid. Building up her confidence would take time. Mom, how about we buy a car? The moment Huan said that, passengers all around turned to stare. They wanted to see who was making a claim like that. Liu Mai felt their eyes on her and flushed with embarrassment. What car? It's way too expensive. And even if we bought one, who would drive it? That was a real problem. Huan knew how to drive. He just didn't have a license yet. After over half an hour, the old township bus finally pulled into Dazi County. Chen stumbled off the bus with her hand over her mouth and threw up by a telephone pole. Liu Mai patted her back gently. Feeling better? Chen spat a few times before answering. A little. Mom, where's my brother? Liu Mai looked around. Wasn't he just here? Right as she said that, she saw Huan walking out of a small convenience store with 3 bottles of water. Chen, here, rinse your mouth. Chen took a bottle, swished and spat twice. Brother, when are you getting a car? Huan's urge to buy a car was at an all-time high. Soon. Where's the money for a car right now? Liu Mai, as always, opposed the idea. The money in the stock market can't be touched, and that 50,000 in cash is already invested. What's left? Right. Liu Mai was fully aware of every penny Huan had on hand. Chen made a face. Even if we had the money, nobody knows how to drive. Huan smiled faintly. Of course there was money. As for a driver, he could hire one. He'd just have to keep up the charade. Chen cleaned her mouth some more. Brother, let's go shopping. I'll come with you too today, Liu Mai said cheerfully. That way you won't buy nonsense like yesterday. Chen didn't want that. Neither did Huan. Chen wanted to pick her own styles without her mother's opinions. Huan simply hated shopping. It was more exhausting than studying, but there was no helping it. Liu Mai was coming along whether they liked it or not. At T5 in the afternoon, Huan said with a pained expression, "Mom, I have evening study hall tonight. If we don't get home and cook soon, Chen and I will be starving." Liu Mai watched them carrying loads of bags and felt deeply satisfied. All right, let's head home. Huan, how much did we spend on clothes today? About 2,003. What, that much? Chen finally snapped. That's not much at all. Look how much you bought. Anyone would think you're buying wholesale. Liu Mai looked a little sheepish. I couldn't help it. Before, when we had no money, I'd pick and choose and still be unsatisfied. Now that your brother has some, I see so many pretty clothes. Still, you didn't have to buy this many. The 3 of us together have over a dozen outfits, and you even bought 2 winter coats. It's over 30 degrees Celsius out. What are you buying winter coats for? They were on sale. Besides, winter's only 2 months away. It'll come fast. Mentioning winter reminded Huan of the heavy snow that lasted over a month. He let out a long sigh. This winter is going to be especially cold. Buying the coats is fine. Once the temperature drops, we'll each get a couple of down jackets too. Chen looked puzzled. How do you know it'll be cold this winter? Because your big brother is practically psychic. I just know. Chen rolled her eyes. They got home, and Liu Mai went straight into the kitchen to cook. Huan went to his room, turned on his computer, and set up a separate account for Teacher Guo. Since it was the Mid-Autumn Festival, trading wasn't possible, so he just transferred 100,000 yuan in and logged out. Chen came in munching on an apple and plopped down on the edge of the bed. Brother, who was that guy in the big Mercedes today? That's Han Chi. The one our youngest uncle mentioned. He's in real estate development and why investment of 50,000 went into his project. Brother, I feel like you're amazing now. You're still just a high schooler, but you're already doing business with these big bosses, and when Mom talks to those rich people, she barely dares to breathe, but you chat and laugh like it's nothing. Huan grinned. Your big brother's pretty awesome, huh? Chen nodded emphatically. I feel like you've changed a lot. Of course. If I still went to the internet cafe every day, you'd probably still be shouting my name all the time. Chen actually looked embarrassed for once. Huan glanced toward the kitchen. Liu Mai was still cooking, and lowered his voice. Chen, come here. I want to tell you something. Chen knew he must be planning something behind their mother's back. She crept over and whispered, What? I want to buy a car. Huh? Chen was so surprised her voice jumped. Keep it down. What if Mom hears? Chen peeked outside. Luckily, Mom was still stir-frying and hadn't noticed anything. Isn't all your money tied up in stocks and investments? Where are you getting the money for a car? Huan regretted not exaggerating his available cash earlier. Now he had to keep spinning lies. My 50,000 investment should bring in about 10 to 20,000 in profit after a month. With the few thousand I have on hand, I can pretty much get a budget car under 200,000. Chen looked suspicious. The real estate project in the east of town just started construction. How can there be profits that fast? Damn. A sister too smart wasn't a good thing. She wasn't easy to fool. Huan was scrambling for an excuse when Chen said, Brother, do you have secret savings? If I said yes, would you believe me? No, but where did you get so much money? Did you make it from stocks again? Not this time. I made it investing with Han Chi and the others. Chen bought that explanation. If Huan didn't have prior contact with those big bosses, how could they be so familiar with each other? How much do you have left? A little over 1 million. Another 1 million? Chen's eyes went wide. Is money that easy to make these days? Bang, 1 million. Bang, another 1 million. You think you're farming gold coins in a game? Huan chuckled. Didn't I tell you? The thing I'm best at is making money. So you're really going to buy a car? Yes, look at you today, car sick. If we have our own car, you can open the window whenever you want, stop to rest whenever you want. You won't get sick anymore, and it'll be easier for the whole family if we ever go back to our hometown. But who's going to drive? That's easy. We'll hire a driver after the college entrance exam next year. I'll get my license. That'll be even more convenient. Chen blinked. You telling me all this on the sly? Are you planning to buy it under my name again? That's my sister. Brains as sharp as a tack.